What if I told you that for over 150 million years, our planet was ruled by killing machines so perfectly designed that they make today's apex predators look like house pets? We're not talking about your typical movie monsters or fairy tale creatures. These were real animals that stalked, hunted, and dominated ecosystems with a precision that would make modern military strategists jealous. Picture this. You're standing in a world where the ground trembles beneath massive footsteps, where shadows moving through ancient forests could mean instant death, and where survival isn't just about being strong or fast. It's about being smarter, more adaptable, and more ruthless than everything else trying to kill you. This was Earth during the age of dinosaurs, and the creatures that thrived here weren't just big. They were engineered by millions of years of evolution to be the ultimate predators. But here's what most people get wrong about dangerous dinosaurs. Everyone thinks it was all about size. The bigger the dinosaur, the more dangerous it was, right? Wrong. Dead wrong. The most lethal dinosaurs weren't always the largest ones stomping around. Some of the most terrifying predators were surprisingly small, relying on intelligence, pack coordination, and weapons that would make a medieval knight weep with envy. Today, we're going to dive deep into the world of prehistoric predators that redefined what it means to be dangerous. We'll explore creatures whose hunting strategies were so effective that they dominated their environments for millions of years. We'll uncover the secrets behind their success, examine the fossil evidence that tells their stories, and reveal why these ancient killers still capture our imagination today. But I need to warn you about something. This isn't going to be your typical dinosaur documentary where we just admire their size and move on. We're going to get into the nitty-gritty details of how these creatures lived, hunted, and died. We're talking about animals that could track prey for miles, coordinate attacks with surgical precision, and deliver killing blows that would end a fight in seconds. What makes this exploration even more fascinating is that we're not relying on Hollywood fantasy or wild speculation. Every detail we'll discuss is backed by cutting-edge paleontological research, fossil evidence, and scientific analysis that brings these ancient predators back to life in ways we never thought possible. So, whether you're a long-time dinosaur enthusiast or someone who's always wondered what made these creatures so incredibly successful, you're in for a journey that will completely change how you think about prehistoric life. We're about to meet some of the most sophisticated, deadly, and downright terrifying animals that ever walked this planet. Let's start with a question that might surprise you. When you think of a dangerous dinosaur, what comes to mind? Massive jaws? Bone-crushing teeth? Claws the size of baseball bats? All of these are certainly intimidating, but the truly dangerous dinosaurs combined these physical weapons with something far more deadly: intelligence. Take the dromaeosaurids, a family of dinosaurs that includes some of the most lethal predators in Earth's history. These weren't lumbering giants that relied on brute force. They were thinking machines wrapped in scales and feathers, equipped with sensory systems that would make a modern hawk jealous, and problem-solving abilities that allowed them to adapt their hunting strategies on the fly. Consider Velociraptor, a name that literally means swift thief. Despite what Hollywood would have you believe, these predators weren't the size of grizzly bears. They stood about 2 feet tall at the hip and weighed roughly 30 to 40 pounds. But don't let their size fool you. These were precision instruments of death, built for speed, agility, and surgical strikes. What made Velociraptor so dangerous wasn't just its famous sickle-shaped claw, though that weapon deserves its reputation. Each foot carried a curved, razor-sharp talon that could extend nearly 2 inches long. But the real genius of this weapon system was in how it was used. The claw wasn't just for slashing. It was a grappling hook that prevented prey from escaping once the attack began. But here's where it gets really interesting. Velociraptor had binocular vision that allowed it to judge distances with incredible accuracy. Its brain was relatively large for a dinosaur, suggesting cognitive abilities that went far beyond simple predatory instincts. These creatures could learn, adapt, and potentially even plan their attacks. The hunting strategy of Velociraptor was nothing like the Hollywood portrayal of pack hunters working together like wolves. Instead, fossil evidence suggests they were more like opportunistic predators. Intelligent enough to work alone, but smart enough to take advantage of situations where multiple individuals might benefit from the same kill. When a Velociraptor attacked, it wasn't a chaotic brawl. It was a calculated assault. The predator would use its incredible speed, reaching up to 24 miles per hour, to close distance with prey. Then came the precision strike. The sickle claw would hook into the victim, while the powerful jaws filled with serrated teeth would deliver the killing bite. Now, imagine scaling up that same basic design philosophy. What happens when evolution takes the Velociraptor blueprint and decides to make it the size of a small elephant? You get Utahraptor, one of the largest dromaeosaurids ever discovered, and quite possibly one of the most terrifying predators that ever lived. Utahraptor stretched nearly 23 feet from nose to tail and weighed over 1,000 pounds. Its sickle claw was absolutely massive, measuring about 9 inches long. But this wasn't just a bigger version of its smaller cousin. This was a completely different kind of predator, one that could take down prey that would be impossible for smaller raptors to handle. The sheer physics of Utahraptor's attacks would have been devastating. With powerful legs that could propel its massive frame at speeds up to 28 miles per hour, and the ability to leap distances of 15 feet. This predator could deliver kinetic energy that would be absolutely catastrophic for any prey animal. But what really sets these dromaeosaurids apart from other predators is evidence that they may have been covered in feathers. This wasn't just for show or temperature regulation. These feathers could have played a role in display behaviors, helping individuals communicate with each other and potentially coordinate their activities. The success of the dromaeosaurid family tree tells us something profound about what makes a predator truly dangerous. It's not just about being the biggest or having the sharpest teeth. It's about being perfectly adapted to your environment and your prey. These dinosaurs were living proof that intelligence, combined with the right physical tools, could dominate ecosystems for millions of years. But intelligence and agility weren't the only paths to predatory success in the dinosaur world. Sometimes evolution took a completely different approach, creating creatures that were dangerous in ways that seem almost alien to us today. Deep in the forests of ancient Mongolia, there lived a creature that challenges everything we think we know about dangerous dinosaurs. Therizinosaurus, whose name means scythe lizard, was a giant that stood over 10 feet tall and weighed as much as an elephant. But here's the twist that makes this dinosaur so fascinating. It was an herbivore. So why are we talking about a plant eater in a discussion about dangerous dinosaurs? Because Therizinosaurus was armed with claws that were nearly 3 feet long, curved like scythes, and sharp enough to slice through almost anything that threatened it. These weren't hunting tools. They were defensive weapons that could turn any predator's attack into a life-threatening mistake. Imagine being a large carnivorous dinosaur, perhaps a tyrannosaur, stalking through the forest, looking for an easy meal. You spot what appears to be a slow-moving, long-necked herbivore, peacefully browsing on vegetation. It looks like the perfect target. But as you approach, the giant slowly turns toward you and raises claws that are longer than your entire skull. Suddenly, that easy meal doesn't look so appealing anymore. The defensive strategy of Therizinosaurus was brutally simple. It didn't need to chase down prey or coordinate complex attacks. It just needed to make the cost of attacking it higher than any predator was willing to pay. Those massive claws could deliver slashing wounds that would be fatal to most attackers, and the dinosaur's considerable size meant that it could back up its threats with serious force. What makes Therizinosaurus even more remarkable is that it represents a completely different evolutionary path. While most theropod dinosaurs, the group that includes all the major predators, evolved toward carnivory, the Therizinosaur family went in the opposite direction. They started as meat eaters and gradually evolved into plant specialists, but they kept their predatory weapons and adapted them for defense. This evolutionary story teaches us something important about danger in the prehistoric world. Sometimes the most dangerous animals weren't the ones actively hunting. They were the ones that could make hunting them a fatal mistake. But let's get back to the active predators, because the age of dinosaurs produced some of the most sophisticated hunters in Earth's history. During the late Jurassic period, roughly 150 million years ago, North America was dominated by a predator that combined size, power, and intelligence in ways that made it the apex hunter of its time. Allosaurus, the different lizard, was everything you'd want in a perfect predator. Growing up to 30 feet long and weighing over 2 tons, it was built like a living weapon. Its skull alone was 3 feet long, packed with serrated teeth that were designed for slicing through flesh and bone. But what made Allosaurus truly dangerous wasn't just its impressive hardware. It was how intelligently it used those weapons. Unlike the simple bite and hold strategy used by many modern predators, Allosaurus employed what paleontologists call a hatchet attack method. Using powerful neck muscles, it would swing its skull downward like an axe, driving those razor-sharp teeth deep into its prey. This wasn't about crushing bones like later tyrannosaurs would do. This was about precise, devastating cuts that would cause massive blood loss and shock. The prey that Allosaurus hunted were no pushovers. These were some of the largest animals that ever walked the earth. Massive sauropods like Diplodocus and Camarasaurus, armored dinosaurs like Stegosaurus, and various other herbivores that had evolved their own defensive strategies. Taking down animals that size required more than just individual strength. It required strategy. Fossil evidence suggests that Allosaurus may not have always hunted alone. Multiple skeletons have been found in association with large sauropod remains, hinting that these predators might have worked together when tackling the biggest prey. But this wasn't necessarily cooperative hunting in the way we see with modern wolves. It was more likely opportunistic aggregation, where individual predators would tolerate each other's presence when there was enough food to go around. What made Allosaurus particularly successful was its combination of power and speed. Despite weighing over 2 tons, this predator could reach speeds of up to 20 miles per hour. That might not sound fast by modern standards, but for something that massive, it was incredibly impressive. More importantly, Allosaurus was built for acceleration and maneuverability, able to pivot and lunge with devastating effectiveness. The success of Allosaurus as a predator is written in the fossil record. These dinosaurs dominated North American ecosystems for millions of years, and their remains have been found from Utah to Portugal, suggesting a wide geographic range and incredible adaptability. But evolution never stands still, and as the Mesozoic era progressed, new predatory challenges emerged. In the forests of ancient China, a very different kind of tyrannosaur was evolving, one that would challenge our assumptions about what made these famous predators so successful. Chienzosaurus, nicknamed Pinocchio Rex due to its unusually elongated snout, represents a fascinating deviation from the typical tyrannosaur blueprint. Living in the dense forests of late Cretaceous China, this predator measured about 20 feet long and weighed roughly 1,500 pounds. But what made it truly remarkable wasn't its size. It was how perfectly adapted it was for a completely different kind of hunting environment. Where most tyrannosaurs evolved massive bone-crushing skulls designed for taking down enormous prey, Chienzosaurus went in a different direction entirely. Its narrow, elongated snout was like a precision instrument, perfectly designed for quick surgical strikes against smaller, more agile targets. This wasn't a predator built for wrestling with giant sauropods. This was a specialist hunter that had found its own deadly niche. The forest environment where Chienzosaurus lived was nothing like the open plains where other tyrannosaurs dominated. Dense vegetation, twisted roots, and limited visibility meant that traditional tyrannosaur hunting strategies simply wouldn't work. But evolution had an answer. This predator's lightweight build and long legs made it incredibly maneuverable in tight spaces, able to navigate through thick undergrowth with the grace of a jungle cat. When Chienzosaurus hunted, it relied on stealth and precision rather than overwhelming force. Its elongated skull allowed for rapid, dart-like strikes that could incapacitate prey before they even knew danger was approaching. Think of it as the difference between a sledgehammer and a rapier. Both are deadly, but they require completely different techniques to use effectively. The prey that Tyrannosaurus targeted were equally specialized for forest life. Small to medium-sized ornithopods, early birds, and various other creatures that had evolved to thrive in dense woodland environments. These weren't the massive herbivores that other tyrannosaurs specialized in hunting. They were quick, alert, and perfectly capable of disappearing into the vegetation at the first sign of danger. This created an evolutionary arms race between predator and prey that pushed both sides to incredible levels of specialization. Tyrannosaurus developed enhanced sensory capabilities, including improved hearing and possibly better night vision, while its prey evolved increasingly sophisticated escape and evasion strategies. What's particularly fascinating about Tyrannosaurus is how it demonstrates the incredible diversity within the tyrannosaur family. We often think of these predators as a single type of animal, but the fossil record tells a very different story. Different species evolved different hunting strategies, different body plans, and different ecological roles, all while maintaining the basic tyrannosaur framework. But perhaps no predator better exemplifies the concept of evolutionary specialization than the giants that roamed the southern continents during the Middle Cretaceous period. In what is now Argentina, a group of predators was evolving that would redefine what it meant to be a large carnivorous dinosaur. The Carcharodontosaurids, whose name means shark-toothed lizards, were built on a completely different principle than the tyrannosaurs. Where tyrannosaurs evolved toward bone-crushing bite forces and robust builds, the Carcharodontosaurids went for length, speed, and slicing power. They were the ultimate pursuit predators, designed to run down and systematically dismantle prey that could be larger than anything else on Earth. Mapusaurus, one of the most impressive members of this family, stretched over 40 feet long and weighed up to 6 tons. But what made it truly remarkable wasn't just its individual capabilities. It was evidence that these massive predators may have worked together as a coordinated hunting unit. The discovery that changed everything about how we view these predators came from a single fossil site in Argentina. Paleontologists uncovered the remains of at least 7 individual Mapusaurus of different ages, all buried together in what appears to be a single catastrophic event. This wasn't just coincidence. The evidence suggests these animals lived together, hunted together, and died together. Imagine the implications of pack hunting behavior in predators this massive. A single Mapusaurus was already capable of taking on most prey animals in its ecosystem. But a coordinated group of them could tackle prey that would be impossible for any individual predator to handle. We're talking about the ability to hunt the largest land animals that ever lived. The primary target for these coordinated hunts would have been the massive sauropods that dominated South American ecosystems. Argentinosaurus, one of the largest dinosaurs ever discovered, could reach lengths of over 100 feet and weigh more than 80 tons. No single predator, no matter how powerful, could hope to bring down something that massive alone. But a coordinated pack of Mapusaurus could. the hunting strategy would have been devastating in its efficiency. Individual pack members could attack from different angles, with some focusing on the legs to bring the giant down, while others targeted vulnerable areas like the neck or flanks. The long blade-like teeth of Mapusaurus were perfect for this kind of systematic attack, designed to cause massive blood loss rather than crushing the damage. But coordinated hunting in dinosaurs this large would have required a level of social organization that challenges our understanding of dinosaur behavior. These weren't simple-minded killing machines. They were intelligent animals capable of communication, coordination, and possibly even teaching younger pack members hunting techniques. The fossil evidence supports this interpretation in fascinating ways. The mixed age group found at the Mapusaurus site includes juveniles, subadults, and fully grown adults. This suggests a stable social structure where different age classes live together, possibly with older individuals passing on hunting knowledge to younger ones. This kind of social behavior would have made Mapusaurus incredibly dangerous in ways that go beyond simple physical capabilities. A pack of coordinated predators this size could have dominated entire ecosystems, potentially driving the evolution of defensive strategies in their prey species. The success of the Carcharodontosaurid family across multiple continents tells us something important about predatory evolution during the Cretaceous period. While tyrannosaurs were becoming the dominant predators in northern continents, the South was developing its own equally impressive predatory dynasty. But evolution wasn't finished with large predators yet. As the Cretaceous period drew toward its close, one final group of predators was reaching the absolute pinnacle of what it meant to be a large carnivorous dinosaur. In the ancient landscapes of western North America, the ultimate predator was about to make its appearance. Tyrannosaurus rex needs no introduction. This is the predator that has captured human imagination like no other, and for good reason. Everything about T-Rex was built for maximum lethality. At over 40 feet long and weighing up to 14 tons, it was one of the largest land predators ever to exist. But size alone doesn't explain why T-Rex has become synonymous with prehistoric danger. The skull of T-Rex was a masterpiece of predatory engineering. At over 5 feet long, it housed the most powerful bite force ever measured in a land animal. Scientists estimate that T-Rex could generate bite forces of up to 12,000 pounds per square inch. To put that in perspective, that's enough force to crush a small car, but raw power was only part of the equation. T-Rex teeth were perfect tools for their intended purpose, with thick, banana-shaped crowns designed to penetrate deep into prey and then hold on while the massive jaw muscles did their work. These weren't the slicing teeth of earlier predators. These were bone crushers, capable of biting completely through the spines of other large dinosaurs. The sensory capabilities of T-Rex were equally impressive. Its forward-facing eyes provided excellent depth perception, crucial for judging distances when launching attacks. Its sense of smell was extraordinary, comparable to that of modern vultures, allowing it to detect prey or carrion from miles away. Even its hearing was specialized, with inner ear structures that could detect low-frequency sounds. possibly including the footsteps of other large dinosaurs. What made T-Rex particularly dangerous was how it combined these extraordinary physical capabilities with sophisticated hunting strategies. This wasn't a mindless brute that relied purely on size and strength. Fossil evidence shows that T-Rex was an intelligent predator capable of complex behaviors. Bite marks on Hadrosaurus bones show that T-Rex actively hunted live prey, not just scavenged, as some early theories suggested. The pattern of these bite marks tells a story of calculated attacks, with T-Rex targeting specific vulnerable areas to maximize damage and minimize its own risk. The prey that T-Rex hunted were themselves formidable animals. Armored dinosaurs like Ankylosaurus, massive Hadrosaurus, and horned ceratopsians all had their own defensive strategies. Taking down animals like these required more than just brute force. It required timing, strategy, and the ability to exploit weaknesses. Evidence suggests that T-Rex may have employed ambush tactics, using its surprisingly good camouflage and patient hunting style to get close to prey before launching devastating attacks. Despite its massive size, biomechanical studies indicate that T-Rex could reach speeds of up to 25 miles per hour, more than fast enough to run down most prey animals. The success of T-Rex as a predator is evident in its dominance of late Cretaceous ecosystems. For millions of years, it ruled as the apex predator across vast areas of western North America, with no serious competition from other large carnivores. But what truly sets T-Rex apart from other predators is how it represents the culmination of tyrannosaur evolution. Every feature, from its massive skull to its powerful legs, represents millions of years of evolutionary refinement toward the goal of being the perfect large predator. The evolutionary journey that led to T-Rex began with much smaller ancestors. Early tyrannosaurs, like DeLong, were about the size of large dogs, covered in primitive feathers and equipped with relatively modest predatory capabilities. Over millions of years, the tyrannosaur lineage gradually increased in size while refining their hunting abilities. Intermediate forms like Albertosaurus and Daspletosaurus show us the steps in this evolutionary progression. Each species was larger and more specialized than its predecessors, developing the characteristic tyrannosaur body plan of massive heads, powerful legs, and reduced arms. By the time T-Rex appeared in the fossil record, the tyrannosaur design had reached its absolute peak. This was predatory evolution pushed to its logical extreme, creating an animal so perfectly adapted for large prey hunting that it dominated its ecosystem completely. The legacy of T-Rex extends far beyond its own time period. As the last and largest of the tyrannosaurs, it represents the endpoint of one of evolution's most successful predatory experiments. When the asteroid impact ended the age of dinosaurs 66 million years ago, it brought the curtain down on a predatory dynasty that had ruled the Earth for over 20 million years. But the story of dangerous dinosaurs doesn't end with the giants. Some of the most fascinating predators were actually quite small, proving that in the prehistoric world, intelligence and specialization could be just as deadly as size and strength. The forests of ancient China held secrets that would challenge everything paleontologists thought they knew about small predators. Tyrannosaurus, whose name means Chinese bird lizard was barely 3 feet long and weighed less than 10 pounds. But don't mistake its modest size for weakness. This was a venomous killer armed with specialized teeth that could deliver toxins directly into its prey's bloodstream. The discovery of grooved teeth in Sinornithosaurus fossils sent shock waves through the scientific community. These weren't just any grooves. They were channels perfectly designed to conduct venom from specialized glands, much like the fangs of modern venomous snakes. This was the first evidence of a venomous dinosaur, and it completely rewrote the rules of prehistoric predation. Imagine encountering this feathered nightmare in the dense undergrowth of a Cretaceous forest. Its body was covered in primitive feathers that provided perfect camouflage among the dappled shadows. Those large forward-facing eyes could track the slightest movement with laser precision. And when it struck, those venomous fangs would deliver a cocktail of toxins that could paralyze or kill prey many times its own size. The hunting strategy of Sinornithosaurus was pure efficiency. It didn't need to overpower its victims through brute force or engage in prolonged struggles that might alert other predators. A single precise bite would inject enough venom to incapacitate prey within minutes. Then it could feed at leisure, safe from competition and exposure. But venom wasn't the only evolutionary innovation that small predators developed. In the ancient ecosystems of Madagascar, another diminutive hunter was perfecting techniques that would make modern assassins jealous. Mapusaurus, the vicious lizard, possessed one of the most unusual dental arrangements ever discovered in a dinosaur. The front teeth of Mapusaurus projected forward at bizarre angles, creating what paleontologists describe as a fish hook arrangement. These weren't designed for the typical slicing and dicing we see in most predatory dinosaurs. Instead, they were specialized tools for grabbing and holding on to slippery, struggling prey. The primary targets for Mapusaurus were fish, small reptiles, and possibly even pterosaurs that ventured too close to the water's edge. Its unusual teeth were perfect for snagging these elusive prey items, while its agile build allowed it to move quickly between terrestrial and aquatic hunting grounds. What made Mapusaurus particularly dangerous was its unpredictability. Unlike larger predators that followed established hunting patterns, this small opportunist could strike from unexpected angles and in unexpected situations. It was the kind of predator that could adapt its techniques on the fly, making it incredibly difficult for prey species to develop effective defenses. The diversity of small predatory dinosaurs tells us something profound about how evolution fills ecological niches. While the giants dominated through raw power, these smaller hunters succeeded through specialization, intelligence, and innovative hunting techniques that often surpassed anything we see in the modern world. But size and specialization weren't the only factors that determined success in the prehistoric world. Some of the most dangerous dinosaurs achieved their status through sheer persistence and endurance, outlasting competitors and adapting to changing environments over millions of years. Carnotaurus, the meat-eating bull, represents a completely different approach to predatory success. This South American giant was built like a living missile, with a streamlined body design that prioritized speed above all else. At nearly 30 feet long and weighing over 2 tons, it was still capable of reaching speeds that would make modern racehorses jealous. The most distinctive feature of Carnotaurus was its pair of forward-projecting horns, which gave it a demonic appearance that perfectly matched its predatory lifestyle. These weren't just for show. Biomechanical analysis suggests that Carnotaurus may have used these horns as battering rams, charging at prey with devastating impact force. The eyes of Carnotaurus were positioned more forward than most other large predators, giving it excellent binocular vision and depth perception. This was crucial for a predator that relied on high-speed pursuits, where miscalculating distance by even a few inches could mean the difference between a successful hunt and a catastrophic collision. The prey that Carnotaurus specialized in hunting were the smaller to medium-sized herbivores that populated South American ecosystems during the late Cretaceous. These animals had evolved their own impressive escape abilities, capable of sudden direction changes and bursts of speed that could confuse most predators. But Carnotaurus was different. Where other predators might give up after a short chase, Carnotaurus could maintain high speeds over considerable distances. Its cardiovascular system was like that of a modern marathon runner, capable of sustaining the oxygen demands of prolonged pursuit. This endurance hunting strategy was devastatingly effective against prey that relied on brief sprints to escape danger. The success of Carnotaurus demonstrates that there wasn't just one path to predatory dominance in the dinosaur world. While some predators evolved toward maximum size and others toward specialized hunting techniques, Carnotaurus found success through athletic excellence and relentless pursuit. But endurance hunting requires more than just physical capabilities. It demands intelligence, planning, and the ability to read prey behavior patterns. Carnotaurus had to be able to predict where fleeing animals would go, anticipate their escape routes, and position itself for maximum advantage during the critical moments of the hunt. Fossil trackways provide fascinating insights into how Carnotaurus hunted. Some sites show evidence of sustained pursuit over considerable distances, with the predator maintaining steady pressure on fleeing herbivores until exhaustion made them vulnerable to attack. This wasn't the quick strike predation we see in ambush hunters. This was warfare through attrition. The psychological impact of being hunted by Carnotaurus must have been extraordinary. Imagine being a small herbivorous dinosaur, grazing peacefully in an open plain, when suddenly this horned nightmare appears on the horizon. You run as fast as your legs can carry you, but no matter how far you go or how cleverly you try to evade, those terrible eyes remain fixed on you, getting closer with every passing moment. This kind of persistent predation pressure would have shaped the evolution of prey species in profound ways. Animals that shared ecosystems with Carnotaurus had to develop not just speed, but intelligence, alertness, and cooperative behaviors that allowed them to survive in a world where running away wasn't always enough. The impact of predators like Carnotaurus on their ecosystems extended far beyond simple predator-prey relationships. These animals were ecosystem engineers, shaping the behavior evolution and distribution of every other species around them. Their presence created ripple effects that influenced everything from plant communities to the behavior of other predators. But perhaps no group of predators had a more profound impact on their ecosystems than the Spinosaurids, a family of semi-aquatic hunters that dominated river systems across multiple continents during the Cretaceous period. These were predators that had found an almost untapped ecological niche, and they exploited it with remarkable success. Spinosaurus, the spine lizard, was quite possibly the largest predatory dinosaur that ever lived. Recent estimates suggest it could reach lengths of over 50 feet and weigh up to 20 tons. But what made Spinosaurus truly remarkable wasn't just its size, it was how completely it had adapted to an aquatic lifestyle. The skull of Spinosaurus was elongated and narrow, remarkably similar to that of a modern crocodile. This wasn't coincidence. This was convergent evolution, where unrelated animals develop similar features because they face similar environmental challenges. The narrow snout was perfect for catching fish, while the forward-positioned nostrils allowed Spinosaurus to breathe while most of its head was submerged. The teeth of Spinosaurus were completely different from those of other large theropods. Instead of the serrated, knife-like teeth we see in most predators, Spinosaurus had conical, pointed teeth that were perfect for gripping slippery fish. These teeth were also less prone to breaking when dealing with struggling aquatic prey. But the most distinctive feature of Spinosaurus was the massive sail on its back, formed by elongated neural spines that could reach over 5 feet in height. The function of this sail has been debated for decades, but recent research suggests it may have served multiple purposes, including thermoregulation, display, and possibly even as a stabilizing fin. During swimming, the discovery of Spinosaurus fossils with preserved stomach contents revolutionized our understanding of this predator. The remains included fish scales, pterosaur bones, and even small sharks, confirming that this was indeed a semi-aquatic predator that dominated ancient river systems. The hunting strategy of Spinosaurus was unlike anything we see in other large predatory dinosaurs. Instead of pursuing prey across land, it would wade into rivers and coastal areas, using its sensitive snout to detect fish and other aquatic animals. When prey was located, Spinosaurus could strike with lightning speed, its long neck allowing it to reach targets several feet away. The aquatic lifestyle of Spinosaurus gave it access to food sources that were unavailable to other large predators. While terrestrial carnivores had to compete for relatively limited populations of large herbivores, Spinosaurus could tap into the abundant fish populations that thrived in Cretaceous waterways. This ecological separation meant that Spinosaurus rarely came into direct competition with other large predators. It had found its own niche and exploited it so successfully that Spinosaurids spread across multiple continents, with related species found in Africa, South America, Europe, and Asia. The success of the Spinosaurid family demonstrates the importance of ecological innovation in predatory evolution. While most large theropods were competing for the same basic resources, the Spinosaurids had essentially discovered an entirely new way of being a large predator. But aquatic adaptation came with its own challenges and trade-offs. Spinosaurus was likely less agile on land than its terrestrial cousins, and its specialized anatomy made it dependent on aquatic environments. When climate changes affected water levels and fish populations, Spinosaurids were more vulnerable than more generalized predators. The eventual extinction of the Spinosaurids before the end of the Cretaceous period may have been related to these environmental dependencies. As global climate patterns shifted and sea levels changed, the stable aquatic environments that these predators relied upon became less reliable. Yet for millions of years, Spinosaurus and its relatives were among the most successful predators on Earth. They had found a way to be enormous, powerful, and dangerous, while avoiding direct competition with other large carnivores. It was an evolutionary strategy that worked brilliantly until changing environmental conditions made their specialization a liability. The story of Spinosaurus reminds us that even the most successful predators are ultimately dependent on their environments. No matter how perfectly adapted an animal might be, changes in climate, geography, or ecosystem structure can transform evolutionary advantages into fatal weaknesses. But specialization could also lead to remarkable success stories. In the ancient forests of Romania, a predator was evolving that would become one of the most efficient killers in dinosaur history. Despite being smaller than many of the giants we've discussed, Balar Bondoc, whose name means stocky dragon, was a heavily built dromaeosaurid that had taken the basic raptor design and modified it for maximum lethality. Instead of the single sickle claw found on each foot of most raptors, Balar had evolved two massive claws on each foot, essentially turning its feet into quadruple-bladed weapons. The island environment where Balar evolved had created unique evolutionary pressures. Cut off from mainland populations, this predator had evolved in isolation, developing features that made it perfectly suited to its specific environment. The result was a compact, muscular predator that was like a living Swiss Army knife of destruction. The prey available to Balar included various herbivorous dinosaurs, early mammals, and other small animals that shared its island habitat. The double-sickle claws were perfect for dealing with this diverse range of targets, allowing Balar to adjust its attack strategy depending on what it was hunting. But Balar represents something more than just another successful predator. It demonstrates how evolution can take successful designs and refine them even further when environmental conditions allow. The basic dromaeosaurid body plan was already highly effective, but isolation and unique selective pressures pushed Balar toward an even more specialized form. The discovery of Balar also highlights how much we still don't know about dinosaur diversity. This remarkable predator was only described in 2010, reminding us that new species are still being discovered and that our understanding of prehistoric ecosystems continues to evolve. The success of small specialized predators like Balar challenges the common assumption that bigger always meant more dangerous in the dinosaur world. These animals prove that intelligence, specialization, and perfect adaptation to specific environments could be just as effective as raw size and power. As we examine the incredible diversity of dangerous dinosaurs, one pattern becomes clear. There wasn't just one way to be a successful predator during the Mesozoic era. Evolution experimented with countless different approaches, creating predators that were specialized for every conceivable ecological niche. Some predators succeeded through size and power, using brute force to overwhelm their prey. Others relied on speed and agility, running down victims through superior athleticism. Still others developed specialized weapons, sophisticated hunting strategies, or unique ecological adaptations that gave them decisive advantages. The fossil record shows us predators that hunted alone and others that may have worked in coordinated groups. We see evidence of ambush hunters, pursuit predators, and opportunistic scavengers. Some predators were generalists that could take a wide variety of prey, while others were specialists perfectly adapted to specific types of hunting. This diversity of predatory strategies created ecosystems that were incredibly complex and dynamic. Prey species had to evolve defenses against multiple different types of threats, while predators had to compete not just with other members of their own species, but with entirely different kinds of hunters pursuing the same resources. The result was an evolutionary arms race that lasted for over 150 million years, producing some of the most sophisticated predator-prey relationships in Earth's history. The dangerous dinosaurs we've explored were the products of this relentless evolutionary pressure, refined by millions of years of natural selection into perfect killing machines. But the story of these remarkable predators was ultimately cut short by events beyond their control. The asteroid impact that ended the Cretaceous period brought an abrupt end to the age of dinosaurs, eliminating not just the predators themselves, but the entire ecosystems they had helped create. Yet their legacy lives on in ways that continue to surprise us. The birds that fly overhead today are direct descendants of these ancient predators, carrying within their genes the evolutionary innovations that made their ancestors so successful. The hunting strategies, sensory capabilities, and behavioral patterns that made dinosaurs dangerous haven't disappeared. They've simply been scaled down and adapted for a very different world. The intelligence we see in modern birds offers us tantalizing glimpses into the cognitive abilities of their dinosaur ancestors. Ravens can solve complex puzzles, crows can use tools, and some parrots demonstrate problem-solving skills that rival those of young children. These abilities didn't appear overnight. They're the refined products of evolutionary innovations that began with the theropod dinosaurs we've been exploring. But intelligence alone wasn't enough to guarantee survival in the Mesozoic world. The most dangerous dinosaurs combined cognitive abilities with physical adaptations that turned them into living weapon systems. And nowhere is this combination more evident than in the story of how these predators influenced the evolution of their prey. Consider the herbivorous dinosaurs that shared ecosystems with these deadly predators. They weren't passive victims waiting to be eaten. They were active participants in an evolutionary arms race that pushed both predator and prey toward increasingly sophisticated adaptations. The presence of intelligent, coordinated hunters like the dromaeosaurids forced herbivores to develop their own survival strategies. Some plant eaters evolved massive size as a defense, growing so large that even the biggest predators would think twice before attacking. Others developed armor plating, turning themselves into living tanks that could withstand tremendous punishment. Still others relied on speed and alertness, evolving keen senses and powerful legs that could carry them away from danger. But perhaps the most fascinating defensive evolution was the development of social behaviors in prey species. Herding, alarm calls, and cooperative defense strategies all evolved as responses to predation pressure. When you're being hunted by intelligent pack predators, your best defense might be to form your own intelligent groups. This predator-prey dynamic created feedback loops that drove evolutionary innovation on both sides. As prey species became more difficult to catch, predators had to become more sophisticated in their hunting techniques. As predators became more dangerous, prey species had to develop more effective defenses. The result was an escalating cycle of adaptation that produced increasingly remarkable animals on both sides. The fossil record provides fascinating glimpses into these ancient struggles. Bite marks on herbivore bones tell stories of attacks and narrow escapes. Healed injuries show us that not every predator encounter ended in death. Some prey animals survived traumatic injuries and lived to pass on their defensive adaptations to the next generation. But the arms race between predator and prey wasn't the only factor shaping the evolution of dangerous dinosaurs. Environmental changes played equally important roles, forcing predators to adapt or perish as their world transformed around them. During the Cretaceous period, global climate patterns were dramatically different from today. Sea levels were much higher, creating vast inland seas that divided continents into isolated land masses. These geographic barriers led to the evolution of distinct predator communities on different continents, each adapted to local conditions and prey species. In the southern continents, the carcharodontosaurids we discussed earlier dominated terrestrial ecosystems, while spinosaurids ruled the waterways. Meanwhile, in the northern continents, tyrannosaurs were evolving toward the massive forms that would eventually produce Tyrannosaurus rex. These different evolutionary paths were largely driven by geographic isolation and the unique environmental challenges each region presented. The breakup of the supercontinent Pangaea created opportunities for evolutionary experimentation that wouldn't have been possible in a single, connected landmass. Predators could evolve in isolation, developing unique adaptations without immediate competition from similar species elsewhere. This geographic separation helps explain the incredible diversity of predatory dinosaurs we see in the fossil record. But isolation also created vulnerabilities. When environmental changes reconnected previously separated land masses, established predator communities suddenly found themselves in direct competition with species they had never encountered before. Some thrived in these new competitive environments, while others were driven to extinction by more efficient competitors. The late Cretaceous period saw several of these biogeographic mixing events as changing sea levels and continental drift brought previously isolated ecosystems into contact. The results were often dramatic, with entire predator dynasties disappearing while others expanded their ranges across multiple continents. These prehistoric ecosystem disruptions offer important lessons for understanding modern biodiversity crises. Just as ancient predators were vulnerable to environmental changes and competitive pressures, modern apex predators face similar challenges, from habitat destruction, climate change, and human interference. But let's return to the predators themselves, because the late Cretaceous period produced some of the most extreme examples of predatory specialization in Earth's history. As ecosystems became more complex and competitive pressures intensified, evolution pushed predatory dinosaurs toward increasingly narrow ecological niches. In the ancient river systems of North Africa, a predator was evolving that would take aquatic adaptation to extraordinary extremes. Carcharodontosaurus, the shark-toothed lizard, was a massive predator that combined the size of the largest land carnivores with hunting strategies borrowed from marine predators. This giant stretched over 40 feet long and weighed up to 8 tons, making it one of the largest predatory dinosaurs ever discovered. But size alone doesn't explain why Carcharodontosaurus was so successful. What made it truly dangerous was how it had adapted to exploit the rich ecosystems of Cretaceous river deltas. The skull of Carcharodontosaurus was a masterpiece of predatory engineering, but designed according to very different principles than the bone-crushing Tyrannosaurs. Instead of developing maximum bite force, this predator had evolved for precision and efficiency. Its teeth were thin, sharp, and serrated like steak knives, perfect for slicing through flesh and causing rapid blood loss. The hunting strategy of Carcharodontosaurus was based on what paleontologists call the slash and bleed technique. Rather than trying to deliver a single killing bite, this predator would make multiple precise cuts, weakening its prey through blood loss and shock before moving in for the final attack. It was a more energy-efficient approach than the wrestling matches favored by some other large predators. The prey that Carcharodontosaurus hunted included some of the largest animals that ever lived. Massive sauropods like Paralititan and Egyptosaurus roamed the same river systems, creating opportunities for predation on a scale that's difficult to imagine. Taking down animals that could weigh over 50 tons required not just physical capability, but strategic thinking and patience. Evidence suggests that Carcharodontosaurus may have employed persistence hunting techniques similar to those used by modern wolves or African wild dogs. Rather than attempting to overpower massive prey through brute force, this predator may have followed herds over long distances, waiting for opportunities to separate vulnerable individuals from the group. The river delta environment where Carcharodontosaurus lived was perfect for this kind of hunting strategy. Seasonal floods would force large herbivores to concentrate around reliable water sources, creating opportunities for predation. During dry seasons, these same water sources would become bottlenecks, where predators could ambush desperate prey. But the aquatic environment also presented unique challenges. Carcharodontosaurus shared its territory with massive crocodiles like Sarcosuchus, a 40-foot-long monster that was equally capable of taking down large prey. Competition between these apex predators must have been intense, possibly leading to the evolution of temporal or spatial partitioning strategies that allowed both species to coexist. The success of Carcharodontosaurus demonstrates how environmental specialization could lead to extraordinary predatory capabilities. By adapting to the specific challenges and opportunities of river delta ecosystems, this predator achieved a level of success that allowed it to dominate one of the richest environments on Earth. But specialization always comes with risks, and the Carcharodontosaurids learned this lesson the hard way. As global climate patterns shifted during the late Cretaceous, the stable river systems they depended on became less predictable. Changing precipitation patterns and sea level fluctuations disrupted the ecosystems that had supported these giant predators for millions of years. The decline of the Carcharodontosaurids coincided with the rise of other predatory groups that were better adapted to changing environmental conditions. Tyrannosaurs, with their more generalized hunting abilities and greater ecological flexibility, began to expand into territories previously dominated by the shark-toothed giants. This pattern of replacement and succession was common throughout the age of dinosaurs. Successful predatory groups would dominate for millions of years, only to be eventually supplanted by new lineages that were better adapted to changing conditions. The fossil record is filled with the remains of once dominant predators that failed to adapt quickly enough to environmental changes. Yet, even as some predatory lineages declined, others were reaching new heights of evolutionary sophistication. In the forests of ancient Montana, a predator was evolving that would represent the absolute pinnacle of small theropod design. Troodon, whose name means wounding tooth, was a predator that packed an extraordinary amount of intelligence and capability into a relatively small package. Standing about 3 feet tall and weighing roughly 100 pounds, Troodon was built like a precision instrument, with every aspect of its anatomy optimized for maximum hunting efficiency. The brain of Troodon was proportionally larger than that of any other dinosaur, suggesting cognitive abilities that may have approached those of modern birds. This wasn't just a smart predator by dinosaur standards. This was an animal that could potentially rival mammals in terms of problem-solving ability and behavioral flexibility. The eyes of Troodon were enormous relative to its body size, positioned forward on the skull to provide excellent binocular vision and depth perception. These eyes were also adapted for low-light conditions, suggesting that Troodon may have been primarily nocturnal, hunting when most other predators were inactive. The hands of Troodon were remarkably dexterous, with long fingers tipped by sharp claws that could manipulate objects with surprising precision. Combined with its high intelligence, this manual dexterity may have allowed Troodon to use simple tools or engage in complex nest-building behaviors that required fine motor control. But it was the hunting strategy of Troodon that truly set it apart from other predators. Rather than relying on overwhelming force or specialized weapons, this predator succeeded through superior intelligence and adaptability. It could hunt a wide variety of prey using different techniques, depending on the situation. Small mammals, early birds, fish, insects, and even the eggs and young of other dinosaurs all fell prey to Troodon's versatile hunting abilities. This dietary flexibility was crucial for survival in the competitive ecosystems of the late Cretaceous, where specialized predators were increasingly vulnerable to environmental changes. The social behavior of Troodon may have been equally sophisticated. Some evidence suggests these predators lived in small family groups, with parents caring for their young long after hatching. This extended parental care would have allowed for the transmission of learned behaviors and hunting techniques from one generation to the next. The discovery of Troodon nests with carefully arranged eggs suggests that these dinosaurs engaged in complex brooding behaviors similar to those of modern birds. The adults would have sat on their nests to incubate the eggs, then continued to care for the hatchlings until they were capable of independent survival. This level of parental investment indicates that Troodon young were born in a relatively helpless state, requiring extended care and education before they could fend for themselves. This pattern is typically associated with high intelligence, as it allows for longer learning periods and the development of more complex behaviors. The success of Troodon as a predator was based on its ability to outthink rather than overpower its prey. In a world dominated by giants, this small predator carved out its own niche through intelligence, adaptability, and behavioral sophistication that wouldn't look out of place in a modern ecosystem. But even the most intelligent predators were ultimately subject to the same environmental pressures that shaped all life during the Mesozoic Era. As the Cretaceous period drew toward its close, global ecosystems were becoming increasingly unstable, setting the stage for the dramatic events that would end the age of dinosaurs. Volcanic activity was increasing worldwide, pumping massive amounts of carbon dioxide and other gases into the atmosphere. Climate patterns were shifting, causing sea levels to fluctuate and disrupting established weather patterns. These changes created stress on ecosystems that had remained stable for millions of years. The predators that survived these environmental challenges were generally those with the greatest behavioral flexibility and the broadest dietary ranges. Specialists that had evolved to exploit specific ecological niches were increasingly vulnerable as their preferred habitats disappeared or changed beyond recognition. The final chapter in the story of dangerous dinosaurs began approximately 66 million years ago, when a massive asteroid struck the Earth near what is now Mexico's Yucatan Peninsula. The impact released energy equivalent to billions of nuclear weapons, instantly vaporizing everything within hundreds of miles and triggering global environmental catastrophe. The immediate effects of the impact were devastating enough, but the long-term consequences were even more severe. Massive amounts of debris were thrown into the atmosphere, blocking sunlight and causing global temperatures to plummet. Acid rain poisoned water sources, while massive wildfires consumed forests across entire continents. The complex food webs that had supported large predators for over 150 million years collapsed within a matter of years. Without adequate prey populations, even the most successful predatory dinosaurs faced starvation. The giants that had ruled the earth for so long simply couldn't adapt quickly enough to the rapidly changing conditions. Yet not all dinosaurs perished in this global catastrophe. Small, adaptable species with generalized diets and flexible behaviors managed to survive the initial crisis. These survivors would eventually give rise to modern birds, carrying the genetic legacy of their predatory ancestors into the present day. The extinction of the non-avian dinosaurs marked the end of one of evolution's most successful experiments in predatory design. For over 150 million years, these remarkable animals had dominated terrestrial ecosystems, evolving an incredible diversity of hunting strategies and ecological adaptations. But their legacy extends far beyond the fossil record. The evolutionary innovations that made dinosaurs such successful predators didn't disappear with the asteroid impact. They were refined and passed down through the surviving lineages, eventually giving rise to the sophisticated behaviors we see in modern birds. Today, when we watch a hawk circling overhead or observe the complex social behaviors of crows, we're witnessing the continuation of predatory strategies that were first perfected by dinosaurs millions of years ago. The intelligence, sensory capabilities, and hunting techniques that made dinosaurs dangerous haven't been lost. They've simply been adapted for a very different world. The study of dangerous dinosaurs also provides crucial insights into how evolution shapes predator-prey relationships over deep time. The arms races between hunters and their prey that played out during the Mesozoic Era continue today, though on different scales and with different players. Modern conservation efforts benefit enormously from understanding these ancient ecological relationships. By studying how predators and ecosystems responded to environmental changes in the past, we can better predict how current species might react to ongoing climate change and habitat destruction. The dangerous dinosaurs we've explored represent the pinnacle of predatory evolution during one of Earth's most dynamic periods. Each species was perfectly adapted to its specific environment and ecological niche, the product of millions of years of evolutionary refinement and natural selection. From the intelligent pack hunters like Velociraptor to the massive pursuit predators like Carcharodontosaurus, from the specialized aquatic hunters like Spinosaurus to the ultimate apex predator Tyrannosaurus rex, these animals demonstrate the incredible diversity of solutions that evolution can produce when faced with the challenge of being a successful predator. Their stories remind us that danger in the natural world comes in many forms. Size and strength are certainly important, but intelligence, adaptability, and perfect ecological matching can be equally deadly. The most dangerous predators are often those that combine multiple advantages, creating synergistic effects that make them far more lethal than the sum of their individual capabilities. As we continue to discover new species and learn more about the ones we already know, our understanding of these remarkable predators continues to evolve. Each new fossil provides additional pieces to the puzzle of how these animals lived, hunted and died in the ancient world. The dangerous dinosaurs of the Mesozoic era may be gone, but their influence on life on Earth continues to this day. They shaped the evolution of every species that shared their world, created ecological patterns that persist in modified forms today, and left genetic legacies that live on in their modern descendants. In studying these ancient predators, we gain not just knowledge about the past, but insights that help us understand the present and prepare for the future. The age of dinosaurs may have ended 66 million years ago, but the lessons they teach us about evolution, ecology, and survival remain as relevant today as they were in the ancient world they once ruled. The next time you see a bird soaring overhead, remember that you're looking at the direct descendant of some of the most dangerous predators that ever lived. The grace, intelligence, and hunting prowess that made dinosaurs successful for over 150 million years live on in these modern survivors, adapted for a world that would be unrecognizable to their ancient ancestors. The story of dangerous dinosaurs is ultimately a story about the power of evolution to create perfectly adapted predators, the importance of ecological relationships in shaping life on Earth, and the remarkable resilience of life in the face of even the most catastrophic changes. These ancient hunters may be gone, but their legacy continues to inspire, educate, and amaze us as we work to understand our planet's incredible biological heritage. Looking at these remarkable predators, we begin to understand that the age of dinosaurs wasn't just about individual hunters operating in isolation. These were complex ecosystems where predators had to navigate not just the challenge of finding prey, but the equally daunting task of avoiding becoming prey themselves. The reality of prehistoric life was that even the most dangerous predators faced threats from their own kind and from competing species. Cannibalism wasn't uncommon among large theropods, and territorial disputes could turn deadly when two apex predators encountered each other in the same hunting grounds. Fossil evidence tells us stories of these ancient conflicts, bite marks on predator bones, healed injuries that speak of narrow escapes, and even complete skeletons locked in what appears to be mortal combat. These discoveries paint a picture of a world where violence was constant and survival required not just hunting skills, but the ability to defend yourself against other killers. Consider what happened when two massive predators like Allosaurus encountered each other over a fresh kill. These weren't the kind of ritualized displays we might see in modern animals. When you're dealing with creatures equipped with 8-inch claws and bone-crushing jaws, territorial disputes could escalate to lethal encounters within seconds. The scars found on many predator skulls suggest that facial biting was common during these confrontations. Predators would target each other's heads, attempting to damage sensory organs or inflict injuries that would give them decisive advantages. A blinded rival was a defeated rival, and in the harsh world of prehistoric ecosystems, defeat often meant death. But competition wasn't limited to members of the same species. Different predatory dinosaurs often competed for the same resources, leading to evolutionary pressures that pushed each lineage toward greater specialization. This competitive dynamic helped drive the incredible diversity of hunting strategies we see in the fossil record. In some cases, this competition led to temporal partitioning, where different predators hunted at different times of day to avoid direct confrontation. Nocturnal hunters like Troodon could exploit prey that was unavailable to diurnal predators, while twilight hunters found their own temporal niche between the two extremes. Geographic partitioning was another common strategy. Large predators might dominate open plains while smaller, more agile hunters ruled the dense forests. Aquatic specialists claimed the rivers and coastlines, leaving terrestrial specialists to compete for the remaining habitats. These partitioning strategies created opportunities for remarkable predatory diversity within single ecosystems. Rather than having one dominant predator controlling everything, prehistoric environments often supported multiple apex predators, each specialized for different types of prey or hunting conditions. The Judith River Formation in Montana provides a perfect example of this predatory diversity. Fossil evidence from this ancient ecosystem shows that multiple large predators coexisted in the same general area, including tyrannosaurs, dromaeosaurids, and various smaller theropods, each exploiting different ecological niches. But coexistence required more than just avoiding direct competition. It demanded sophisticated behavioral adaptations that allowed predators to assess threats and opportunities with split-second accuracy. The wrong decision about whether to fight or flee could mean the difference between a successful hunt and becoming someone else's meal. The evolution of complex social behaviors in some predatory dinosaurs may have been partly driven by these competitive pressures. Pack hunting, as we discussed with Mapusaurus, wasn't just about taking down larger prey. It was also about defending resources from competing predators and reducing individual risk during dangerous encounters. When a pack of coordinated predators controlled a territory, they could exclude smaller, less organized competitors through sheer numbers and superior tactics. This created evolutionary pressure for solitary predators to become either larger and more powerful or smaller and more elusive. The arms race between competing predators led to some of the most extreme adaptations we see in the fossil record. Predators didn't just evolve to catch prey more effectively. They evolved to fight other predators more successfully, defend their territories more aggressively, and survive in environments where every shadow might conceal a deadly rival. This competitive dynamic helps explain why predatory dinosaurs became so incredibly sophisticated over time. It wasn't enough to be good at hunting. You had to be better at hunting than every other predator trying to exploit the same resources. The result was an evolutionary spiral toward ever greater predatory efficiency. The psychological aspects of this competition were equally important. Predators had to be able to read the intentions and capabilities of rivals, assess their own chances in potential confrontations, and make strategic decisions about when to engage and when to retreat. Fossil evidence suggests that some predators developed intimidation displays designed to avoid actual combat whenever possible. The elaborate crests and horns found on many theropods may have served as visual signals of size, health, and fighting ability, allowing rivals to assess each other without resorting to potentially lethal violence. But when intimidation failed and combat became inevitable, the results could be catastrophic for both participants. The discovery of predator fossils with fatal injuries inflicted by other predators reminds us that even the most dangerous dinosaurs lived constantly on the edge of death. The energy costs of maintaining such high levels of aggression and vigilance were enormous. Predators had to balance the metabolic demands of being constantly ready for combat with the equally important need to hunt successfully and reproduce. This balancing act shaped every aspect of their biology and behavior. Feeding behavior became particularly complex when multiple predators were present at kill sites. Evidence suggests that some large predators may have engaged in kleptoparasitism, stealing kills from smaller competitors rather than hunting for themselves. This strategy required different skills than active hunting, including the ability to assess when a smaller predator could be safely challenged. The social dynamics around carcasses could become incredibly tense, with multiple predators circling each other, testing boundaries, and looking for opportunities to feed while avoiding potentially fatal confrontations. These situations required split-second decision-making and the ability to read subtle behavioral cues that indicated whether a rival was bluffing or preparing to attack. Some predators may have developed specialized scavenging behaviors that allowed them to exploit carcasses after the primary predators had finished feeding. This ecological role required different adaptations than active hunting, including enhanced senses for locating carrion and the ability to process partially decomposed meat. The discovery of bite marks from multiple different predator species on single herbivore skeletons tells us that carcass utilization was often a sequential process, with different predators feeding at different stages of decomposition. This temporal partitioning reduced direct competition while maximizing the utilization of available resources. But scavenging came with its own risks. Carcasses were often defended aggressively by the original killers, and approaching a feeding predator required careful assessment of the situation. The wrong approach could trigger a violent defensive response that would be fatal for the scavenger. The evolution of different body sizes within predatory lineages may have been partly driven by these competitive dynamics. Larger predators could dominate smaller ones through intimidation and force, while smaller predators could exploit resources that were inaccessible to their giant relatives. This size differentiation created opportunities for resource partitioning that reduced direct competition between related species. Juvenile tyrannosaurs, for example, may have hunted very different prey than adults, reducing competition within family groups and allowing multiple age classes to coexist in the same territory. The implications of this competitive complexity extend far beyond simple predator-prey relationships. These ancient ecosystems were characterized by intricate webs of competition, cooperation, and coexistence that rival anything we see in modern environments. Understanding these relationships helps us appreciate just how sophisticated prehistoric ecosystems actually were. These weren't simple systems dominated by a few large predators. They were complex, dynamic communities where success required intelligence, adaptability, and the ability to navigate constantly shifting competitive landscapes. The study of predator interactions in the fossil record also provides insights into how modern ecosystems function. The competitive dynamics that shape dinosaur communities continue to influence predator behavior today, though the players and specific strategies have changed. As we piece together the evidence from these ancient competitive interactions, we gain a deeper appreciation for the challenges that predatory dinosaurs faced every day. Being dangerous wasn't enough. You had to be more dangerous than everything else trying to kill you, while simultaneously avoiding becoming prey yourself. This constant pressure created evolutionary innovations that pushed predatory efficiency to extraordinary levels. The most successful predators were those that could balance offensive capabilities with defensive strategies, combining the ability to kill with the wisdom to know when not to fight. The fossil record preserves moments of triumph and tragedy from these ancient competitions. Successful predators that lived long enough to reproduce and pass on their genetic advantages. Failed competitors whose injuries tell stories of encounters they didn't survive. Winners and losers in an evolutionary game where the stakes couldn't have been higher. But competition wasn't the only factor shaping the evolution of dangerous dinosaurs. Environmental changes played equally important roles, forcing predators to adapt or perish as their world transformed around them. The late Cretaceous period was marked by dramatic shifts in climate, geography, and ecosystem structure that challenged even the most successful predatory lineages. Rising sea levels created new inland waterways while eliminating terrestrial habitats. Volcanic activity pumped gases into the atmosphere, altering global temperature patterns and precipitation cycles. Mountain-building episodes changed drainage patterns and created new biogeographic barriers that isolated previously connected populations. These environmental changes created both opportunities and challenges for predatory dinosaurs. New aquatic habitats provided unexploited resources for semi-aquatic predators like the Spinosaurids, while changing terrestrial environments favored different hunting strategies and prey specializations. The most successful predators during these periods of environmental change were those with the greatest behavioral flexibility and the broadest ecological tolerances. Specialists that had evolved to exploit specific environmental conditions were increasingly vulnerable as their preferred habitats disappeared or changed beyond recognition. The Tyrannosaurs provide an excellent example of how predatory lineages responded to environmental change. Early members of this group were relatively small, generalized predators that could exploit a variety of prey types and hunting opportunities. As environments became more stable during the Middle Cretaceous, tyrannosaurs evolved towards larger sizes and greater specialization. But this evolutionary trajectory toward gigantism and specialization also created vulnerabilities. The largest tyrannosaurs required enormous amounts of food to maintain their massive bodies, making them dependent on stable prey populations and predictable hunting conditions. When environmental changes disrupted these conditions, even the most powerful predators faced serious challenges. The Carcharodontosaurids experienced similar pressures, but responded differently. Instead of evolving toward maximum size and bone-crushing power like the Tyrannosaurs, they maintained their slicing bite mechanics and developed enhanced social behaviors that allowed them to take down larger prey through cooperation. These different evolutionary responses to similar environmental pressures demonstrate the multiple pathways available to predatory lineages facing changing conditions. Success wasn't predetermined by any single factor, but depended on the complex interaction between environmental challenges and existing biological constraints. The Spinosaurids faced particularly acute challenges as global sea levels and climate patterns shifted during the late Cretaceous. Their specialized aquatic adaptations, which had been tremendous advantages during periods of stable water levels, became liabilities when changing conditions altered the river and coastal systems they depended upon. The decline of the Spinosaurids illustrates how environmental specialization can become an evolutionary trap. Adaptations that provide significant advantages under stable conditions can become fatal disadvantages when environments change rapidly. The more specialized a predator becomes, the more vulnerable it is to environmental disruption. But environmental change also created opportunities for evolutionary innovation. The breakup of large land masses and the creation of new island environments provided opportunities for rapid evolutionary change and the development of unique predatory adaptations. Island environments, in particular, often produced remarkable predatory innovations. Isolated from mainland competitors and faced with unique prey assemblages, island predators could evolve in directions that would be impossible in more competitive continental environments. The discovery of unusual predatory dinosaurs on ancient island systems demonstrates how geographic isolation could lead to rapid evolutionary change. These island predators often evolved bizarre combinations of features that reflected the specific challenges and opportunities of their isolated environments. But islands also created evolutionary dead ends. When environmental changes reconnected island systems with continental land masses, endemic predators often found themselves unable to compete with more generalized continental species. Many unique island predators disappeared when their isolation ended. The patterns of predator evolution on ancient island systems provide important insights into how geographic isolation influences evolutionary processes. These natural experiments in evolution show us how quickly predatory lineages can adapt to new conditions when freed from competitive constraints. The study of environmental influences on predator evolution also helps us understand how modern ecosystems might respond to ongoing climate change and habitat fragmentation. The challenges faced by ancient predators during periods of environmental upheaval are remarkably similar to those facing modern species today. Ancient predators that survived environmental crises shared certain characteristics that may be relevant for modern conservation efforts. Behavioral flexibility, broad dietary ranges, and the ability to exploit multiple habitat types were crucial for survival during periods of rapid environmental change. The fossil record shows us that even the most successful predatory adaptations are ultimately temporary. Environmental conditions change, competitive landscapes shift, and evolutionary pressures push lineages in new directions. The predators that dominated for millions of years eventually gave way to new lineages better adapted to changing conditions. This pattern of replacement and renewal was a constant feature of predator evolution throughout the Mesozoic Era. Success in one time period didn't guarantee success in the next, and even the most perfectly adapted predators remained vulnerable to changes beyond their control. The ultimate test of this vulnerability came at the end of the Cretaceous period, when the asteroid impact created environmental changes so rapid and severe that even the most adaptable predators couldn't adjust quickly enough. The extinction of the non-avian dinosaurs marked the end of over 150 million years of predatory innovation and diversification. Yet the story doesn't end with extinction. The surviving dinosaur lineages, the birds, carried forward many of the innovations that had made their ancestors such successful predators. Intelligence, sophisticated sensory systems, and complex behaviors all survived the transition to the modern world. Today's birds demonstrate that the fundamental innovations of dinosaur predators weren't lost in the extinction event. They were refined and adapted for new environmental conditions, creating the remarkable diversity of avian predators we see today. The hunting strategies employed by modern raptors, the intelligence displayed by corvids, and the complex social behaviors of many bird species all trace their origins back to the predatory dinosaurs we've been exploring. The genetic and behavioral legacies of these ancient hunters continue to shape life on Earth today. Understanding this evolutionary continuity helps us appreciate the remarkable success of the dinosaur experiment. While the specific forms may have changed, the fundamental innovations that made dinosaurs such effective predators continue to influence ecosystems around the world. The study of dangerous dinosaurs ultimately teaches us about the power of evolution to create remarkable solutions to the challenges of survival. Over millions of years, natural selection refined predatory strategies to levels of sophistication that continue to amaze us today. These ancient predators faced challenges that tested every aspect of their biology and behavior. They had to find food in competitive environments, avoid becoming food themselves, navigate complex social relationships, and adapt to constantly changing conditions. The solutions they evolved to these challenges represent some of evolution's most impressive achievements. The diversity of predatory strategies we see in the dinosaur fossil record demonstrates that there are many different ways to be a successful predator. Size, speed, intelligence, cooperation, specialization, and adaptability all prove to be viable evolutionary strategies under different conditions. But the story of dangerous dinosaurs also reminds us of the impermanence of evolutionary success. Even the most perfectly adapted predators are ultimately subject to forces beyond their control. Environmental changes, competitive pressures, and catastrophic events can end even the most successful evolutionary experiments. The legacy of these remarkable predators lives on in multiple ways. Their fossils continue to provide insights into how evolution shapes life on Earth. Their modern descendants carry forward genetic innovations that first appeared millions of years ago and their stories continue to inspire our understanding of the natural world. As we continue to discover new species and learn more about the ones we already know, our picture of these ancient ecosystems becomes increasingly complex and fascinating. Each new fossil adds details to the story of how life on Earth has responded to the challenges of survival over deep time. The dangerous dinosaurs of the Mesozoic era represent a unique chapter in the history of life on Earth. They achieved levels of predatory sophistication that may never be equaled again, dominating terrestrial ecosystems for longer than mammals have existed. Their success, their diversity, and ultimately their extinction provide crucial insights into how evolution works and how life responds to changing conditions. In studying these ancient predators, we gain not just knowledge about the past, but tools for understanding the present and preparing for the future. The lessons learned from the age of dinosaurs remain relevant as we face our own period of rapid environmental change and ecosystem disruption. The most dangerous dinosaurs in history weren't just killing machines, they were evolutionary marvels, perfectly adapted products of millions of years of natural selection and successful participants in some of the most complex ecosystems ever to exist on Earth. Their stories continue to unfold with each new discovery, adding chapters to one of the most remarkable narratives in the history of life on our planet. These ancient predators achieved something extraordinary during their reign on Earth. They didn't just survive in competitive environments, they thrived, diversified, and created ecological relationships of stunning complexity and sophistication. The fossil record of their success stands as testament to the remarkable power of evolution to create perfectly adapted organisms capable of dominating their world for millions of years. But their story also serves as a reminder that even the most successful adaptations are ultimately temporary. The environmental changes that ended the age of dinosaurs weren't unique historical events. Similar challenges face ecosystems today, and understanding how ancient predators responded to environmental crisis provides valuable insights for modern conservation efforts. The dangerous dinosaurs we've explored represent the pinnacle of predatory evolution during one of Earth's most dynamic periods. Their innovations in hunting strategy, sensory capability, and behavioral sophistication set standards that continue to influence predator evolution today. While their specific forms may be gone, their evolutionary legacy lives on in ways that continue to shape life on Earth. As we look toward the future, the lessons learned from these ancient predators remain as relevant as ever. The principles that governed their success, adaptation, innovation, and resilience in the face of changing conditions continue to determine which species thrive and which disappear in our rapidly changing world. The age of dangerous dinosaurs may have ended 66 million years ago, but their influence on life on Earth continues to this day. In studying these remarkable predators, we gain insights not just into the past, but into the fundamental processes that have shaped life on our planet for billions of years and will continue to do so for billions more. The story of dangerous dinosaurs becomes even more remarkable when we consider the sheer scale of time over which these predators evolved and dominated. We're not talking about brief evolutionary experiments that lasted a few million years. These were lineages that persisted, adapted, and thrived across geological epochs that dwarf human comprehension. To put this in perspective, the entire span of human civilization represents less than a blink of an eye compared to the reign of predatory dinosaurs. While our species has existed for roughly 300,000 years, dinosaurs ruled terrestrial ecosystems for over 150 million years. That's 500 times longer than humans have walked the earth. During this vast expanse of time, predatory dinosaurs witnessed and survived multiple mass extinction events, dramatic climate shifts, and complete reorganizations of global ecosystems. They adapted to ice ages and greenhouse periods, continental drift and mountain building episodes, rising and falling sea levels that repeatedly reshaped the geography of their world. The persistence of these predatory lineages through such dramatic environmental changes speaks to their remarkable evolutionary flexibility. Unlike many modern species that are highly specialized for specific environmental conditions, many dinosaur predators maintained the adaptability necessary to survive in a constantly changing world. Consider the Tyrannosaur lineage, which persisted for over 20 million years while evolving from small primitive forms into the massive apex predators that dominated late Cretaceous ecosystems. This evolutionary journey required continuous adaptation to changing prey communities, shifting climates, and evolving competitive pressures. Throughout this long evolutionary history, tyrannosaurs encountered and outlasted numerous other predatory groups. They survived the decline of the Carcharodontosaurids, adapted to competition from various dromaeosaurid lineages, and successfully exploited ecological opportunities as they became available. The secret to their long-term success wasn't just physical prowess. It was evolutionary adaptability, combined with behavioral flexibility that allowed them to thrive under diverse conditions. Early tyrannosaurs were generalist predators, capable of exploiting various prey types and hunting opportunities. This flexibility provided the foundation for later specialization as environmental conditions stabilized. But flexibility alone wasn't enough. The most successful predatory dinosaurs also possessed what paleontologists call evolutionary robustness. Their basic body plans were sufficiently versatile to support multiple different evolutionary trajectories. As environmental pressures changed, the theropod body plan, with its bipedal stance, powerful legs, grasping hands, and large brain relative to body size, proved to be one of evolution's most successful predatory designs. This basic architecture supported an incredible diversity of predatory strategies, from the tiny swift hunters like Compsognathus to the massive bone crushers like Tyrannosaurus rex. The versatility of the theropod design becomes even more apparent when we consider how it eventually gave rise to birds. The same basic body plan that produced some of the most terrifying land predators in Earth's history also provided the foundation for powered flight and the conquest of aerial environments. This evolutionary transformation didn't happen overnight. The transition from ground-dwelling predators to flying hunters required millions of years of gradual modification, with each stage providing advantages that supported further evolutionary change. The development of feathers in theropod dinosaurs initially had nothing to do with flight. These structures first evolved for insulation and display purposes, helping dinosaurs regulate their body temperature and communicate with members of their own species. Only later were feathers co-opted for aerodynamic functions. The hollow bones that made flight possible originally evolved to reduce weight, while maintaining structural strength in large terrestrial predators. The enhanced respiratory systems that support the high metabolic demands of flight first appeared in active ground-dwelling hunters that needed efficient oxygen delivery during pursuit of prey. Even the enlarged brains that make modern birds such intelligent and adaptable predators trace their origins back to the cognitive demands of hunting in complex terrestrial environments. The intelligence that allows a modern raptor to plan hunting strategies and adapt to changing conditions evolved millions of years before the first dinosaur took to the air. This evolutionary continuity demonstrates that the innovations we see in dangerous dinosaurs weren't evolutionary dead ends. They were stepping stones toward even greater predatory sophistication, culminating in the remarkable diversity of modern birds. Today, when we watch a peregrine falcon stooping at over 200 miles per hour to strike its prey, we're witnessing the ultimate refinement of predatory techniques that began with the first theropod dinosaurs. The precision, speed, and intelligence displayed by modern aerial predators represent the continuation of evolutionary trends that started over 150 million years ago. But the influence of dangerous dinosaurs extends beyond their direct descendants. The ecosystems they shaped and the evolutionary pressures they created influenced every other group of organisms that shared their world. The defensive strategies evolved by herbivorous dinosaurs, the behavioral adaptations of early mammals, and even the evolutionary trajectories of plants were all shaped by the presence of these apex predators. The arms race between predators and prey that characterized the Mesozoic Era created evolutionary innovations that persist in modified forms today. The vigilance behaviors we see in modern herbivores, the defensive grouping strategies employed by many prey species, and the complex predator detection systems found throughout the animal kingdom all trace their origins to the selective pressures created by dinosaur predators. Even plant evolution was influenced by the presence of large predatory dinosaurs. The defensive chemicals produced by many plants, the structural adaptations that make vegetation difficult to digest, and the timing of reproductive cycles that minimize exposure to herbivores all evolved partly in response to predation pressure on plant-eating dinosaurs. This cascade of evolutionary effects created feedback loops that shaped entire ecosystems in ways that are still being discovered. The presence of intelligent social predators like some of the dromaeosaurids may have selected for enhanced communication abilities in prey species, leading to the development of complex alarm call systems and cooperative defense behaviors. The territorial behaviors of large predators influenced the distribution and movement patterns of herbivorous species, which in turn affected plant community structure and nutrient cycling patterns. These ecosystem-level effects created environmental conditions that influenced the evolution of countless other species. The study of these ancient ecological relationships provides crucial insights for understanding how modern ecosystems function. The same basic principles that governed predator-prey interactions during the age of dinosaurs continue to shape ecological communities today, though the specific players have changed. Modern conservation efforts benefit enormously from understanding these deep evolutionary relationships. By studying how ancient ecosystems responded to the presence of apex predators, we can better predict how current ecosystems might change as large predators are lost or reintroduced. The rewilding movements gaining momentum around the world are based partly on lessons learned from studying ancient predator-prey relationships. When large predators are removed from ecosystems, the resulting changes can cascade through entire food webs, affecting everything from herbivore behavior to plant community structure. The reintroduction of wolves to Yellowstone National Park provides a modern example of how apex predators can reshape entire ecosystems. The behavioral changes induced in prey species, the alterations in vegetation patterns, and the effects on other wildlife all echo the kinds of ecosystem-level impacts that dangerous dinosaurs must have had on their ancient environments. But understanding the role of dangerous dinosaurs in ancient ecosystems also reveals the complexity of the challenges facing modern conservation efforts. The predators that shaped ecosystems for millions of years weren't just large and powerful. They were intelligent, adaptable, and capable of complex behaviors that influenced every aspect of their environments. Replacing the ecological functions once served by such sophisticated predators isn't simply a matter of introducing any large carnivore. The specific hunting strategies, behavioral patterns, and ecological requirements of different predatory species create unique environmental effects that can't be easily substituted. The loss of predatory diversity that has occurred since the end of the Pleistocene represents more than just the disappearance of individual species. It represents the loss of millions of years of evolutionary innovation in predatory strategy and ecosystem engineering. The dangerous dinosaurs we've explored achieved levels of predatory sophistication that took tens of millions of years to evolve. The hunting strategies they developed, the ecological relationships they formed, and the behavioral innovations they pioneered represent irreplaceable evolutionary experiments that can never be repeated. Yet their legacy provides hope as well as sobering lessons. The same evolutionary processes that created the remarkable predators of the Mesozoic Era continue to operate today. Evolution hasn't stopped, and the potential for new predatory innovations remains as strong as ever. The rapid evolution we see in some modern predators, particularly in response to human-induced environmental changes, demonstrates that the evolutionary creativity that produced dangerous dinosaurs is still at work. Urban predators developing new hunting strategies, marine predators adapting to changing ocean conditions, and aerial predators exploiting novel food sources all represent ongoing evolutionary experiments. The intelligence we see in modern predators, from the problem-solving abilities of octopuses to the tool-use behaviors of some birds, suggests that evolution continues to push cognitive abilities toward greater sophistication. While we may never again see predators as physically imposing as Tyrannosaurus rex, we may be witnessing the early stages of predatory innovations that could prove equally remarkable. The study of dangerous dinosaurs also provides perspective on the challenges facing modern ecosystems. The environmental changes that ultimately ended the age of dinosaurs weren't gradual shifts that allowed for evolutionary adaptation. They were catastrophic disruptions that overwhelmed even the most adaptable species. The current biodiversity crisis shares some disturbing similarities with the end Cretaceous extinction event. Rapid environmental change, habitat destruction, and ecosystem disruption are creating conditions that challenge even the most successful modern predators. Understanding how ancient ecosystems collapsed provides insights into how we might prevent similar collapses today. But the story of dangerous dinosaurs also demonstrates the remarkable resilience of life in the face of seemingly insurmountable challenges. Even the catastrophic asteroid impact that ended the Mesozoic Era didn't eliminate all predatory dinosaurs. The survivors carried forward the genetic and behavioral innovations of their ancestors, eventually giving rise to new forms of predatory excellence. The birds that inherited the Earth after the extinction of non-avian dinosaurs didn't simply replace their ancestors. They refined and improved upon the predatory strategies that had made dinosaurs successful, adapting them for new environmental conditions and ecological opportunities. Modern birds demonstrate predatory capabilities that in many ways exceed those of their dinosaur ancestors. The precision hunting of modern raptors, the cooperative behaviors of corvids, and the problem-solving abilities of parrots all represent evolutionary advances over the capabilities of most Mesozoic predators. The cognitive abilities displayed by some modern birds suggest that intelligence may be the next frontier in predatory evolution. While physical constraints limit how large or fast terrestrial predators can become, there appear to be no similar limits on the evolution of intelligence and behavioral sophistication. The tool use behaviors documented in some bird species, the complex social strategies employed by others, and the remarkable learning abilities demonstrated by many groups all suggest that we may be witnessing the early stages of a new chapter in predatory evolution. The communication systems developed by some modern predators, particularly the complex vocalizations of marine mammals and the sophisticated signaling behaviors of some birds, represent evolutionary innovations that go beyond anything documented in the dinosaur fossil record. These developments remind us that evolution is an ongoing process, not a historical curiosity. The same forces that shaped dangerous dinosaurs continue to operate today, creating new predatory strategies and refining existing ones in response to changing environmental conditions. The future of predatory evolution remains unwritten, but the lessons learned from studying dangerous dinosaurs provide valuable insights into the directions it might take. The most successful future predators will likely be those that combine physical capabilities with behavioral flexibility and cognitive sophistication. The environmental challenges facing modern ecosystems may favor predators that can adapt quickly to changing conditions, exploit novel food sources, and develop innovative hunting strategies. Intelligence rather than size or strength, may become the key to predatory success in rapidly changing environments. The urban environments created by human civilization represent entirely new ecological niches that are being exploited by increasingly sophisticated predators. The behavioral adaptations we see in urban wildlife suggest that evolution is already responding to these novel challenges. The story of dangerous dinosaurs ultimately teaches us that predatory excellence comes in many forms. The specific solutions that worked during the Mesozoic era may not be relevant for future challenges, but the underlying principles of adaptation, innovation, and evolutionary flexibility remain as important as ever. The remarkable predators of the dinosaur age achieved their success through millions of years of evolutionary refinement, responding to environmental pressures and competitive challenges with increasingly sophisticated adaptations. Their legacy lives on not just in their fossil remains, but in the ongoing process of evolution that continues to shape life on Earth. As we face our own period of rapid environmental change, the lessons learned from these ancient predators become increasingly relevant. The same principles that allowed dangerous dinosaurs to dominate their world for over 150 million years, adaptability, intelligence, and evolutionary innovation, may be the keys to survival in our uncertain future. The age of dangerous dinosaurs may have ended, but the story of predatory evolution continues. The next chapter is being written by the species alive today, including our own. The choices we make about how to manage ecosystems, preserve biodiversity, and respond to environmental challenges will determine what kinds of predators inherit the Earth in the millions of years to come. The legacy of dangerous dinosaurs reminds us that we are participants in an ongoing evolutionary experiment that has been running for billions of years. The predators that once ruled the Earth have passed their innovations on to new generations of hunters, and the cycle of adaptation and innovation continues. In studying these remarkable ancient predators, we gain not just knowledge about the past, but insights that can help us navigate the challenges of the present and prepare for the uncertainties of the future. The dangerous dinosaurs of the Mesozoic era may be gone, but their influence on life on Earth will continue for as long as evolution shapes the living world. The story of these prehistoric predators is ultimately a story about the power of life to adapt, innovate, and thrive in the face of incredible challenges. It's a story that continues today, with new chapters being written by every species that faces the eternal challenge of survival in a competitive and ever-changing world. The most dangerous dinosaurs in history weren't just killing machines or evolutionary curiosities. They were sophisticated, intelligent, and remarkably successful participants in some of the most complex ecosystems ever to exist on Earth. Their achievements in predatory excellence set standards that continue to influence evolution today, and their legacy will persist for as long as life continues to evolve on our planet. The next time you observe a modern predator in action, remember that you're witnessing the continuation of evolutionary trends that began with the first theropod dinosaurs over 200 million years ago. The hunt continues, the evolutionary arms race persists, and the story of predatory innovation unfolds with each passing day. The dangerous dinosaurs of the past have passed the torch to new generations of predators, and the eternal struggle between hunter and hunted continues to drive evolution toward ever greater levels of sophistication and adaptability. Their story is our story, and their legacy is the living world that surrounds us today. The interconnected web of prehistoric predation becomes even more fascinating when we examine how these ancient hunters influenced the very fabric of evolutionary development across entire continents. The ripple effects of their presence extended far beyond simple predator-prey relationships, creating cascading changes that shape the trajectory of life on Earth in ways we're only beginning to understand. During the height of the Cretaceous period, the global distribution of dangerous dinosaurs created what paleontologists now recognize as distinct predatory provinces. Each continent developed its own unique assemblage of apex hunters, perfectly adapted to local conditions and prey communities. This geographic separation led to remarkable evolutionary experiments that produced predatory strategies unlike anything seen before or since. In the dense forests of ancient Europe, a predator was evolving that would challenge our understanding of what it meant to be a medium-sized theropod. Baryonyx, the heavy claw, represented a fascinating evolutionary compromise between terrestrial and aquatic hunting strategies. This 30-foot-long predator had discovered an ecological niche that allowed it to exploit both land and water resources with equal effectiveness. The skull of Baryonyx was a masterpiece of evolutionary engineering, combining features found in both crocodiles and traditional theropods. Its elongated snout housed over 90 teeth, each perfectly designed for gripping slippery fish while maintaining the serrated edges necessary for processing terrestrial prey. This dual adaptation allowed Baryonyx to switch between hunting strategies depending on seasonal availability of different food sources. But what made Baryonyx truly remarkable was its massive thumb claw, measuring over a foot in length and curved like a giant fish hook. This weapon served multiple functions, from spearing large fish to defending against other predators. The discovery of fish scales and pterosaur bones in Baryonyx stomach contents confirmed that this predator was exploiting resources that were largely unavailable to its contemporaries. The hunting strategy employed by Baryonyx required a completely different set of skills than those used by typical land predators. Standing in shallow water, this predator would use its sensitive snout to detect the movements of fish below the surface. When prey was located, Baryonyx could strike with remarkable speed, using its elongated jaws to snatch fish from the water, while its powerful thumb claws provided additional gripping power. This semi-aquatic lifestyle allowed Baryonyx to avoid direct competition with the large terrestrial predators that dominated European ecosystems during the early Cretaceous. While other theropods competed for limited populations of large herbivores, Baryonyx had access to the abundant fish populations that thrived in ancient river systems. The success of Baryonyx demonstrates how evolutionary innovation could open entirely new ecological pathways for predatory dinosaurs. Rather than competing directly with established predatory lineages, This species found success by exploiting an underutilized resource base through specialized adaptations. But specialization always comes with trade-offs, and baryonyx faced unique challenges that didn't affect purely terrestrial predators. Its dependence on aquatic resources made it vulnerable to changes in water levels and fish populations. During dry periods, when rivers shrank and fish became scarce, baryonyx would have been forced to rely more heavily on terrestrial hunting, bringing it into direct competition with more specialized land predators. The fossil record suggests that the Spinosaurid family, which includes baryonyx, was particularly vulnerable to environmental changes during the Middle Cretaceous period. As global climate patterns shifted and sea levels fluctuated, the stable aquatic environments that these predators depended upon became increasingly unreliable. This vulnerability highlights one of the fundamental challenges facing all predatory dinosaurs throughout their evolutionary history. The more specialized a predator became, the more efficient it could be at exploiting specific resources. But the more vulnerable it became to environmental changes that affected those resources. The balance between specialization and generalization was a constant theme in predatory dinosaur evolution. Species that remained too generalized often found themselves outcompeted by more specialized rivals in stable environments. But species that became too specialized often couldn't adapt quickly enough when environmental conditions changed. The most successful predatory lineages were those that managed to find the optimal balance between these competing pressures. They were specialized enough to be highly efficient predators, but retained enough flexibility to adapt when conditions changed. The Tyrannosaurus provide an excellent example of this evolutionary balancing act. Early tyrannosaurs were relatively small, generalized predators that could exploit a variety of prey types and hunting opportunities. As they evolved toward larger sizes and greater specialization, they maintained enough behavioral flexibility to adapt to changing prey communities and environmental conditions. This evolutionary strategy proved remarkably successful, allowing tyrannosaurs to dominate terrestrial ecosystems for over 20 million years. Their combination of specialized physical adaptations and behavioral flexibility made them incredibly effective predators while maintaining the adaptability necessary for long-term evolutionary success. But even the most successful evolutionary strategies eventually reached their limits. The gigantic tyrannosaurs of the late Cretaceous, while incredibly effective predators, had become so large and specialized that they were vulnerable to rapid environmental changes. When the asteroid impact created sudden, catastrophic environmental disruption, even these apex predators couldn't adapt quickly enough to survive. The extinction of the large predatory dinosaurs at the end of the Cretaceous period marked the end of one of evolution's most successful experiments in predatory design. For over 150 million years, dinosaur predators had dominated terrestrial ecosystems through a combination of size, intelligence, and behavioral sophistication that has never been equaled. Yet, the story doesn't end with extinction. The surviving dinosaur lineages carried forward many of the innovations that had made their ancestors such successful predators. The birds that inherited the post-extinction world possessed enhanced intelligence, sophisticated sensory systems, and behavioral capabilities that allowed them to exploit predatory opportunities that were unavailable to their giant ancestors. Modern birds demonstrate that the evolutionary innovations of predatory dinosaurs weren't lost in the mass extinction event. They were refined and adapted for new environmental conditions, creating forms of predatory excellence that are perfectly suited to the modern world. The hunting strategies employed by contemporary raptors showcase the ultimate refinement of techniques that first appeared in theropod dinosaurs millions of years ago. The precision strikes of a peregrine falcon, the cooperative hunting behaviors of Harris hawks, and the problem-solving abilities of corvids all represent the continuation of evolutionary trends that began in the Mesozoic Era. But modern predatory birds have also developed capabilities that exceed those of their dinosaur ancestors in many ways. The three-dimensional hunting environment of aerial predators has created opportunities for predatory strategies that were impossible for ground-dwelling dinosaurs to exploit. The cognitive abilities displayed by some modern birds suggest that intelligence may be the ultimate predatory adaptation. While physical constraints limit how large or fast predators can become, there appear to be no similar limits on the evolution of problem-solving abilities and behavioral sophistication. The tool-use behaviors documented in some bird species represent a level of cognitive sophistication that may exceed anything achieved by non-avian dinosaurs. When a New Caledonian crow fashions a hook from a piece of wire to extract food from a narrow tube, it's demonstrating problem-solving abilities that represent the culmination of millions of years of brain evolution. The social hunting strategies employed by some modern birds also represent advances over the capabilities of most Mesozoic predators. The coordinated pack hunting behaviors of Harris hawks, the information-sharing systems used by ravens, and the teaching behaviors observed in some raptor species all demonstrate levels of social complexity that were probably rare among non-avian dinosaurs. These developments remind us that evolution is an ongoing process that continues to produce remarkable innovations in predatory strategy. The dangerous dinosaurs of the past laid the foundation for these modern achievements, but evolution hasn't stopped refining and improving upon their legacy. The study of modern predatory birds also provides insights into the possible behaviors of their extinct relatives. While we can't directly observe the hunting strategies of Velociraptor or the social behaviors of Deinonychus, the behaviors of modern birds offer clues about what these ancient predators might have been capable of. The intelligence displayed by corvids suggests that the large-brained dromaeosaurids may have been capable of much more sophisticated behaviors than we typically imagine. The cooperative hunting strategies used by some modern raptors hint at the possible social complexities of pack-hunting dinosaurs. The learning abilities demonstrated by many bird species suggest that young dinosaurs may have undergone extended periods of education and behavioral development. These insights help us understand that the dangerous dinosaurs of the Mesozoic era weren't just mindless killing machines. They were intelligent, behaviorally sophisticated animals that lived complex social lives and employed hunting strategies that required considerable cognitive abilities. The fossil record provides tantalizing glimpses of this behavioral complexity. Trackways that show multiple individuals moving together, nesting sites that suggest parental care, and bite patterns that indicate strategic attack methods all point to levels of behavioral sophistication that rival those of modern predators. But direct evidence of dinosaur behavior is limited, and much of what we know about these ancient predators must be inferred from their anatomy, their modern descendants, and their ecological relationships. This creates ongoing debates about the specific capabilities and behaviors of different species. The question of whether certain dinosaurs hunted in coordinated packs remains one of the most contentious issues in paleontology. While some evidence suggests pack hunting behaviors in species like Deinonychus and Utahraptor, other researchers argue that the fossil evidence is ambiguous and could be explained by other factors. The debate over pack hunting illustrates the challenges involved in reconstructing the behaviors of extinct animals. Fossilization rarely preserves direct evidence of behavior, forcing scientists to rely on indirect clues that can be interpreted in multiple ways. Despite these limitations, our understanding of dinosaur behavior continues to improve as new fossils are discovered and new analytical techniques are developed. Advanced imaging technologies allow scientists to study internal bone structures that provide clues about growth rates, metabolism, and sensory capabilities. Chemical analysis of fossilized teeth and bones reveals information about diet and habitat preferences. Computer modeling helps researchers test hypotheses about locomotion and biomechanics. These technological advances are revolutionizing our understanding of how dangerous dinosaurs lived and hunted. Each new discovery adds details to our picture of these remarkable predators, bringing us closer to understanding what made them so successful during their reign on Earth. The integration of multiple lines of evidence is creating increasingly sophisticated models of dinosaur ecology and behavior. By combining anatomical data with environmental information, researchers can reconstruct the ecological relationships that shaped predatory dinosaur evolution. These reconstructions reveal ecosystems of stunning complexity, where multiple apex predators coexisted through various forms of niche partitioning. Different species specialized in different prey types, hunting methods, or temporal activity patterns, allowing remarkable predatory diversity within single ecosystems. The Hell Creek Formation in Montana provides one of the best examples of this predatory diversity. This late Cretaceous ecosystem supported multiple large predators, including Tyrannosaurus rex, various dromaeosaurids, and smaller theropods, each exploiting different ecological niches within the same general area. The coexistence of so many predatory species required sophisticated ecological relationships that minimized direct competition while maximizing resource utilization. Some species may have been primarily diurnal, while others were nocturnal. Some may have specialized in particular prey types, while others were more generalized. Some may have been solitary hunters, while others employed group strategies. These complex ecological relationships created opportunities for evolutionary innovation that wouldn't have existed in simpler predator communities. The presence of multiple competing predatory lineages created selective pressures that drove the evolution of increasingly sophisticated hunting strategies and defensive capabilities. The result was an evolutionary arms race that produced some of the most remarkable predators in Earth's history. Each advance in predatory capability was matched by corresponding advances in prey defenses, creating feedback loops that drove both predators and prey toward greater levels of sophistication. This evolutionary dynamic reached its peak during the late Cretaceous period, when predatory dinosaur diversity and sophistication achieved levels that have never been equaled. The sudden termination of this evolutionary experiment by the asteroid impact represents one of the most dramatic transitions in the history of life on Earth. The loss of the large predatory dinosaurs created ecological opportunities that were quickly exploited by surviving groups, particularly mammals and birds. But it took millions of years for these new predatory lineages to achieve the levels of size and ecological dominance that had characterized the dinosaur predators. The mammalian predators that eventually filled the ecological roles once occupied by large theropods developed very different solutions to the challenges of being apex predators. While dinosaur predators relied heavily on intelligence, speed, and precision weapons like claws and teeth, mammalian predators often emphasized endurance, cooperation, and behavioral flexibility. The differences between dinosaur and mammalian predatory strategies reflect the different evolutionary histories and physiological constraints of these groups. Dinosaurs inherited their predatory adaptations from a lineage that had been refining hunting techniques for tens of millions of years. Mammals had to develop their predatory capabilities essentially from scratch after the extinction event. This comparison highlights the remarkable evolutionary achievement represented by dangerous dinosaurs. They didn't just happen to be successful predators. They were the products of one of evolution's longest and most intensive experiments in predatory design refined over millions of generations of natural selection. The sophistication achieved by predatory dinosaurs becomes even more impressive when we consider the environmental challenges they faced throughout their evolutionary history. The Mesozoic Era was characterized by dramatic climate changes, continental drift, and repeated mass extinction events that eliminated many other groups entirely. The ability of predatory dinosaur lineages to survive and thrive through such environmental upheaval speaks to their remarkable evolutionary resilience. They possessed the behavioral flexibility and adaptive capacity necessary to adjust to changing conditions while maintaining their predatory effectiveness. This resilience was based on several key innovations that distinguished dinosaur predators from their competitors. Enhanced intelligence allowed them to adapt their hunting strategies to changing prey communities and environmental conditions. Sophisticated sensory systems helped them detect and track prey under various conditions. Behavioral flexibility allowed them to exploit new opportunities as they became available. The combination of these innovations created predators that were not just physically formidable, but intellectually and behaviorally sophisticated. They could learn from experience, adapt to new situations, and develop novel solutions to predatory challenges. These capabilities allowed dangerous dinosaurs to dominate terrestrial ecosystems for far longer than any other group of large predators in Earth's history. Their success was based not just on individual excellence, but on the cumulative effects of millions of years of evolutionary refinement. The legacy of this evolutionary achievement extends far beyond the fossil record. The genetic innovations that made dinosaur predators successful were passed on to their descendants, creating the foundation for the remarkable diversity of modern birds. The intelligence we see in contemporary corvids, the hunting precision of modern raptors, and the behavioral complexity of many bird species all trace their origins back to the predatory innovations of Mesozoic theropods. The dangerous dinosaurs of the past live on in the sophisticated behaviors of their modern descendants. This evolutionary continuity demonstrates that the extinction of non-avian dinosaurs didn't represent a complete break in predatory evolution. The most important innovations were preserved and refined, creating new forms of predatory excellence adapted to post-extinction environmental conditions. The study of this evolutionary continuity provides crucial insights into how major extinction events affect the trajectory of evolution. While mass extinctions eliminate many species and disrupt established ecological relationships, they also create opportunities for evolutionary innovation and the development of new adaptive strategies. The recovery of predatory diversity following the end Cretaceous extinction demonstrates the resilience of evolutionary processes in the face of catastrophic environmental change. Within a few million years of the extinction event, new predatory lineages had evolved to fill many of the ecological roles previously occupied by dinosaur predators. But this evolutionary recovery also reveals the irreplaceable nature of the innovations that were lost. While mammals and birds eventually became successful predators, they never achieved the same combination of size, intelligence, and predatory sophistication that characterized the largest dinosaur predators. The unique evolutionary trajectory that produced dangerous dinosaurs can never be repeated. The specific combination of environmental conditions, competitive pressures, and developmental constraints that shaped their evolution was a product of the particular circumstances of the Mesozoic era. This uniqueness makes the study of dangerous dinosaurs particularly valuable for understanding evolutionary processes. They represent a complete evolutionary experiment in predatory design, one that ran for over 150 million years and produced remarkable innovations that continue to influence life on Earth today. The dangerous dinosaurs we've explored throughout this journey represent more than just individual species or even evolutionary lineages. They represent the culmination of one of evolution's most successful and long-running experiments in predatory design. From the swift intelligence of Velociraptor to the massive power of Tyrannosaurus rex, from the aquatic adaptations of Spinosaurus to the pack-hunting strategies of Mapusaurus, these remarkable predators demonstrated that there are countless ways to be successfully dangerous in the natural world. Their innovations in hunting strategy, sensory capability, and behavioral sophistication set standards that continue to influence predatory evolution today. The genetic and behavioral legacies they passed on to their descendants ensure that their influence on life on Earth will persist for millions of years to come. The story of dangerous dinosaurs is ultimately a story about the power of evolution to create remarkable solutions to the fundamental challenges of survival. Over vast spans of time, natural selection refined these predators into living weapon systems of extraordinary sophistication and effectiveness. But it's also a story about the impermanence of evolutionary success and the constant change that characterizes life on our planet. Even the most perfectly adapted predators are ultimately subject to forces beyond their control, and even the most successful evolutionary experiments eventually come to an end. The dangerous dinosaurs of the Mesozoic Era achieved something extraordinary during their time on Earth. They created predatory dynasties that lasted for millions of years, shaped entire ecosystems through their presence, and developed innovations that continue to influence evolution today. Their reign may have ended 66 million years ago, but their legacy lives on in the birds that soar overhead, the ecosystems that still bear the imprint of their influence, and the ongoing process of evolution that continues to create new forms of predatory excellence. In studying these remarkable ancient predators, we gain insights not just into the history of life on Earth, but into the fundamental processes that have shaped our planet's biodiversity for billions of years. The dangerous dinosaurs of the past remind us that we are part of an ongoing evolutionary story, one that continues to unfold with each passing day. The most dangerous dinosaurs in history weren't just successful predators. They were evolutionary pioneers who pushed the boundaries of what it meant to be a hunter on planet Earth. Their achievements in predatory sophistication represent some of evolution's greatest triumphs, and their influence on the living world continues to shape life on our planet today. As we look toward the future, the lessons learned from these ancient predators remain as relevant as ever. The principles that governed their success, adaptation, innovation, and evolutionary flexibility continue to determine which species thrive and which disappear in our rapidly changing world. The age of dangerous dinosaurs may be over, but the evolutionary processes that created them continue to operate. Somewhere in the world today, new predatory innovations are evolving. New hunting strategies are being refined, and new chapters are being written in the ongoing story of predatory evolution. The legacy of the most dangerous dinosaurs in history lives on in every predator that stalks its prey, every hunter that adapts to changing conditions, and every species that faces the eternal challenge of survival in a competitive world. Their story is our story, and their influence will persist as long as life continues to evolve on planet Earth. The remarkable story of dangerous dinosaurs reaches its final chapter not with a whimper, but with a catastrophic bang that would reshape life on Earth forever. As we stand at the end of our journey through the age of these incredible predators, we must confront the sobering reality that even the most perfectly evolved killing machines were ultimately powerless against forces beyond their control. The final million years of the Cretaceous period painted a picture of predatory perfection that would never be seen again. Ecosystems across the globe had reached levels of complexity and sophistication that represented the culmination of over 150 million years of evolutionary refinement. Apex predators ruled every conceivable ecological niche, from the dense forests where pack-hunting dromaeosaurids coordinated their attacks with military precision, to the open plains where massive tyrannosaurs dominated through sheer, overwhelming force. But beneath this surface of predatory dominance, warning signs were beginning to appear. Massive volcanic eruptions in what is now India were pumping unprecedented amounts of carbon dioxide and sulfur compounds into the atmosphere. Global temperatures were fluctuating wildly, creating stress on food webs that had remained stable for millions of years. Sea levels were dropping, eliminating the shallow marine environments that supported many coastal ecosystems. The most specialized predators were the first to feel these environmental pressures. Species like the Spinosaurids, which had evolved exquisite adaptations for semi-aquatic hunting, found their riverine habitats becoming increasingly unreliable. As water levels dropped and fish populations crashed, these magnificent predators faced starvation in environments that had supported them for tens of millions of years. Even the mighty Tyrannosaurs, despite their seemingly invincible dominance, were showing signs of stress. Fossil evidence from the final few million years of the Cretaceous reveals declining body sizes and reduced population densities in some tyrannosaur species. The environmental changes that were reshaping their world were beginning to challenge even these ultimate apex predators. The smaller, more adaptable predators were faring better, but they too faced mounting challenges. Changes in vegetation patterns were affecting herbivore populations, creating ripple effects that traveled up the food chain to impact every predatory species. The complex ecological relationships that had allowed multiple predator species to coexist were beginning to break down under environmental stress. Yet, despite these warning signs, the predatory dinosaurs continued to thrive across most of the planet. Their evolutionary resilience, honed over millions of years of environmental challenges, seemed capable of weathering even these dramatic changes. New species continued to evolve, and existing lineages continued to refine their hunting strategies and ecological adaptations. The world of the late Cretaceous still pulsed with predatory activity. In the forests of Asia, small but deadly hunters like Velociraptor continued their patient stalking of prey. Across the plains of North America, Tyrannosaurus rex maintained its reign as the ultimate apex predator. In the river systems of Africa, massive Carcharodontosaurids still coordinated their pack hunts against the largest prey animals on Earth. This was a world where danger lurked in every shadow, where the slightest moment of inattention could mean death, and where predatory excellence had been refined to levels that seem almost supernatural by modern standards. The ecosystems of the late Cretaceous represented the absolute pinnacle of predatory evolution, a testament to the power of natural selection to create living weapons of extraordinary sophistication. But on a fateful day approximately 66 million years ago, everything changed in an instant. A massive asteroid, roughly 6 miles in diameter and traveling at speeds of over 40,000 miles per hour, slammed into the shallow seas near what is now Mexico's Yucatan Peninsula. The impact released energy equivalent to billions of nuclear weapons, instantly vaporizing everything within hundreds of miles, and triggering a chain of catastrophic events that would end the age of dinosaurs forever. The immediate effects were beyond imagination. The impact created a crater over 100 miles wide and sent shock waves racing around the planet at supersonic speeds. Massive tsunamis, some over a mile high, swept across continents, destroying coastal ecosystems and penetrating hundreds of miles inland. The heat generated by the impact ignited wildfires that consumed entire continents, turning vast forests into hellish infernos. But the long-term effects were even more devastating. The impact threw trillions of tons of debris into the atmosphere, creating a global cloud that blocked sunlight for months or even years. Without sunlight, photosynthesis ground to a halt, causing plant communities to collapse across the planet. As vegetation died, the herbivorous dinosaurs that depended on it faced mass starvation. The collapse of herbivore populations created a cascading crisis that traveled up the food chain with devastating speed. The apex predators that had ruled the earth for so long suddenly found themselves in a world where prey had become virtually extinct. Even the most adaptable and intelligent predators couldn't survive in ecosystems where the fundamental basis of life had been destroyed. The massive tyrannosaurs, despite their overwhelming power and hunting prowess, were among the first to succumb. Their enormous size and correspondingly enormous appetites made them completely dependent on abundant prey populations. When those populations disappeared, even the mightiest predators faced starvation within weeks or months. The smaller predators lasted longer, but they too eventually succumbed to the collapsing ecosystems around them. The pack-hunting dromaeosaurids, despite their intelligence and adaptability, couldn't coordinate hunts when there was nothing left to hunt. The semi-aquatic spinosaurids watched their river systems turn into toxic wastelands as acid rain poisoned the water and killed the fish populations they depended upon. Within a few years of the impact, the great predatory dynasties that had dominated the earth for over 150 million years were gone. The evolutionary experiments that had produced Tyrannosaurus rex, Spinosaurus, Velociraptor, and countless other magnificent predators had come to an abrupt and catastrophic end. Yet the story doesn't end in complete extinction. Hidden among the branches of the dinosaur family tree were small, adaptable species that possessed the flexibility necessary to survive in a drastically changed world. These were primarily the smaller theropods that would eventually give rise to modern birds, creatures that combined the predatory innovations of their ancestors with the adaptability needed to survive environmental catastrophe. The survivors were not the largest or most powerful predators. They were the most behaviorally flexible, the most capable of exploiting diverse food sources, and the most able to adapt quickly to rapidly changing conditions. These characteristics, rather than size or specialized hunting abilities, proved to be the keys to survival during the greatest environmental crisis in Earth's history. As the post-impact world slowly recovered, these surviving dinosaur lineages began to diversify and explore new ecological opportunities. The mammals that had lived in the shadows of the great predators also began to expand into vacant ecological niches, setting the stage for the rise of new predatory dynasties. But the innovations that had made dinosaur predators so successful weren't lost forever. The genetic and behavioral legacies of the great predators lived on in their surviving descendants, eventually giving rise to the remarkable diversity of modern birds. Today, when we watch a hawk circling overhead or observe the problem-solving abilities of a crow, we're witnessing the continuation of predatory excellence that began with the first theropod dinosaurs. The intelligence that allowed Troodon to solve complex hunting problems lives on in the remarkable cognitive abilities of modern corvids. The precision striking techniques perfected by dromaeosaurids have been refined into the incredible hunting accuracy of modern raptors. The sensory capabilities that made Tyrannosaurs such effective predators continue to influence the enhanced vision and hearing of contemporary birds of prey. The social hunting strategies that may have been employed by species like Mapusaurus find their modern expression in the cooperative behaviors of Harris hawks and other social raptors. Even the massive size that characterized the largest predatory dinosaurs has been echoed in modified form by some of the largest birds that evolved in the post-extinction world. The study of dangerous dinosaurs ultimately teaches us profound lessons about the nature of evolutionary success and the unpredictability of environmental change. For over 150 million years, these remarkable predators represented the pinnacle of evolutionary achievement in terrestrial ecosystems. They had solved the fundamental challenges of being apex predators through innovations that seemed to guarantee their continued dominance. Yet their ultimate extinction reminds us that even the most successful evolutionary adaptations are temporary arrangements, subject to disruption by forces beyond any organism's control. The asteroid impact that ended the age of dinosaurs was a completely random event that had nothing to do with the evolutionary fitness or adaptive capabilities of the species it eliminated. This sobering lesson has profound implications for our understanding of modern ecosystems and the ongoing biodiversity crisis. The environmental changes currently affecting our planet, while different in their causes and mechanisms, share some disturbing similarities with the conditions that ended the age of dinosaurs. Rapid habitat destruction, climate change, and ecosystem disruption are creating challenges that even the most adaptable modern species struggle to overcome. The predators that survive in our modern world are those that possess the same characteristics that allowed some dinosaur lineages to survive the end Cretaceous extinction. Behavioral flexibility, dietary adaptability, and the ability to exploit diverse ecological opportunities are proving to be crucial for survival in rapidly changing environments. But the study of dangerous dinosaurs also provides hope for the future of life on Earth. The same evolutionary processes that created these remarkable predators continue to operate today, constantly generating new innovations and adaptations in response to environmental challenges. Evolution hasn't stopped with the extinction of the dinosaurs. It has simply changed direction exploring new possibilities and creating new forms of predatory excellence. The modern world may never again see predators as physically imposing as Tyrannosaurus rex or as specialized as Spinosaurus, but it continues to produce remarkable innovations in predatory strategy. The intelligence displayed by modern birds, the sophisticated hunting techniques employed by marine mammals, and the adaptability shown by urban predators all represent ongoing evolutionary experiments in predatory design. The legacy of dangerous dinosaurs extends far beyond their fossil remains or their modern descendants. These remarkable predators fundamentally shaped the evolutionary trajectory of life on Earth, creating selective pressures that influenced the development of countless other species. The defensive strategies evolved by herbivorous dinosaurs, the behavioral adaptations of early mammals, and even the reproductive strategies of plants were all influenced by the presence of these apex predators. The arms race between predators and prey that characterized the Mesozoic Era created evolutionary innovations that persist in modified forms today. The vigilance behaviors we see in modern herbivores, the defensive grouping strategies employed by many prey species, and the complex predator detection systems found throughout the animal kingdom all trace their origins to the selective pressures created by dinosaur predators. This evolutionary legacy means that the influence of dangerous dinosaurs on modern ecosystems is far more profound than most people realize. Every time a gazelle scans the horizon for predators, every time a fish school responds to the approach of a shark, every time a bird gives an alarm call to warn others of danger, we're witnessing behaviors that evolved in response to predatory pressures that began during the age of dinosaurs. The study of these ancient ecological relationships also provides crucial insights for modern conservation efforts. Understanding how ecosystems functioned when they supported multiple apex predators helps us appreciate the ecological roles that have been lost with the decline of large predators in modern environments. The rewilding movements that are gaining momentum around the world are based partly on lessons learned from studying ancient predator-prey relationships. When large predators are removed from ecosystems, the resulting changes can cascade through entire food webs, affecting everything from herbivore behavior to plant community structure to nutrient cycling patterns. The reintroduction of wolves to Yellowstone National Park provides a powerful modern example of how apex predators can reshape entire ecosystems. The behavioral changes induced in elk populations, the recovery of riparian vegetation, and the positive effects on countless other species all echo the kinds of ecosystem-level impacts that dangerous dinosaurs must have had on their ancient environments. But replacing the ecological functions once served by extinct predators isn't simply a matter of introducing any large carnivore. The specific hunting strategies, behavioral patterns, and ecological requirements of different predatory species create unique environmental effects that can't be easily substituted. The loss of predatory diversity that has occurred since the end of the Pleistocene represents more than just the disappearance of individual species. It represents the loss of millions of years of evolutionary innovation in predatory strategy and ecosystem engineering. that can never be fully replaced. Yet, the continuing evolution of modern predators offers hope for the future. The rapid behavioral adaptations we see in urban wildlife, the innovative hunting strategies being developed by some marine predators, and the remarkable problem-solving abilities displayed by some modern species all demonstrate that evolutionary creativity hasn't disappeared with the great predators of the past. The dangerous dinosaurs of the Mesozoic era achieved something extraordinary during their reign on Earth. They created predatory dynasties that lasted for tens of millions of years, shaped entire ecosystems through their presence, and developed innovations that continue to influence evolution today. Their success was based on a combination of physical prowess, behavioral sophistication, and evolutionary adaptability that has rarely been equaled in the history of life on Earth. Their ultimate extinction serves as a sobering reminder of the fragility of even the most successful evolutionary achievements. No matter how perfectly adapted an organism might be to its environment, it remains vulnerable to catastrophic changes that can overwhelm even the most sophisticated survival strategies. But their legacy lives on in ways that continue to shape our world. The birds that descended from predatory dinosaurs carry forward genetic and behavioral innovations that first appeared in the Mesozoic era. The ecological relationships they established continue to influence how modern ecosystems function. The evolutionary arms races they initiated continue to drive adaptation and innovation in predator-prey relationships around the world. The story of the most dangerous dinosaurs in history is ultimately a story about the power of evolution to create remarkable solutions to the challenges of survival, and the humbling reality that even the most successful solutions are ultimately temporary. These ancient predators achieved levels of predatory sophistication that represented the pinnacle of evolutionary achievement during their time, but they could not transcend the fundamental vulnerability that characterizes all life on Earth. As we face our own period of rapid environmental change, the lessons learned from these ancient predators become increasingly relevant. The same principles that allowed some dinosaur lineages to survive the end Cretaceous extinction, behavioral flexibility, adaptability, and the ability to exploit diverse resources may be crucial for survival in our uncertain future. The age of dangerous dinosaurs may have ended 66 million years ago, but their influence on life on Earth continues to this day. In studying these remarkable predators, we gain insights not just into the history of life on our planet, but into the ongoing processes that continue to shape the living world around us. The most dangerous dinosaurs in history were more than just successful predators. They were evolutionary pioneers who pushed the boundaries of what it meant to be a hunter on planet Earth. Their achievements in predatory sophistication represent some of evolution's greatest triumphs, and their story continues to inspire our understanding of the natural world. Their reign may be over, but their legacy endures in every predator that adapts to changing conditions, every species that evolves innovative survival strategies, and every organism that faces the eternal challenge of survival in an ever-changing world. The dangerous dinosaurs of the past have passed their torch to new generations of predators, and the evolutionary experiment that created them continues to unfold with each passing day. In the end, the story of dangerous dinosaurs is our story too. We are all participants in the same evolutionary processes that shaped these ancient predators, subject to the same forces of natural selection and environmental change that determined their fate. Their success and their ultimate extinction remind us that we, too, are temporary participants in the ongoing story of life on Earth, challenged to adapt and survive in a world that is constantly changing around us. The most dangerous dinosaurs in history achieved something remarkable during their time on our planet. They created a legacy of predatory excellence that continues to influence life on Earth millions of years after their extinction.